happens. Anyways, if you think it's only if you're losing too much that they're mean, it's not true. Even when you're winning. 369's been catching a lot of strays in the Hoopu comments. It's funny because they keep referencing back the flame. It's quite funny.
I think that most of them stem from the Rumble game, right?
Versus Gen G.
Getting killed a whole bunch.
Maybe try 60-0 next time. See if that helps. 3.3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, it was up versus Gen G. Come on.
Exactly. They lost one time. Oh no, to Gen G. You know, another of the tournament favorites.
Yes.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah,
Right?
fair.
Yeah. You're okay with it?
right there.
Well, they can't play T1 again. That's the other thing about the draw that's going to happen is it's going to be a complicated draw with no rematches.
I mean, coming into the tournament too, people were not that scared of T1. T1's recent form didn't cause a lot of fear, but now, after that victory, everyone's looking at the meta change for Faker, going to be great, and T1 at Worlds, you always get like this aura buff.
You know how some guys are like, if anyone's been ripped before, and then they're like not ripped for a bit.
It's easy to regain.
It's way easier to get ripped again because of the muscle memory. Why do people think that T1 is just like suddenly not good?
Because we watched Summer.
But they're just getting ripped again. Like they were just deloading, and now they're bulking up again.
They didn't skip that step of getting kind of weak though.
No, never. They got to do that every year.
They've been great the whole time. Hey, also we were really happy yesterday. Both FlyQuest and G2 got a win. Let's start with the G2 one because obviously I'm biased. About Caps, they said every year we have you to catch the Tiger. Felt surprisingly reliable. The legendary Tiger catcher about Xiaohu is the Spring King. But unfortunately at Worlds it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, at Worlds in Europe, where Caps is the king, there you go. And to me, yeah, Caps, you can always rely on him for Europe. He's like the king of Europe. But Broken Blade,
pretty
by
good.
the way, we kind of like share a little bit of ownership. Like Broken Blade, he learned a lot in NA.
He won the LCS before he won the LEC.
German Turkish, okay? You do not have any claim
But Broken Blade on the Galio, I'm just like, Broken Blade is also an inspiration, I feel like, performing super well. So very happy for them.
We were talking about the lore actually about the Galio because there were also the Hoopu comments about like PTSD for Xiaohu from the Galio from Faker 2017, and you said that's actually another meme that got warped.
They got memes on memes, Josh.
That's crazy.
It's good.
That's the explanation. Memes on memes.
Yeah, memes on memes.
Tell the story.
That's it.
Gonna layer them on.
And talking about the West, FlyQuest yesterday. Wait, what a nervy game though.
Yeah,
Never worried.
But they won. They're in the 2-1 pool because they're the same quality as all the other teams in the pool. Is what we've learned.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh my God, that was such a scary game because Bwipo looked like he was just going to keep running it down on Renekton until he ran it down in a good way. They didn't even take him below half health. He engaged this amazing fight in the mid lane.
He got some really, really glorious comments
had 2
on
quadra
Hoopu as
kills.
well. Yeah, I just want to shout out the user Senlands at WH for providing all these amazing translations always on Reddit. There's also a Hoopu account on X you can follow that has these ones, and they always have the spice. So, but let's get into our first best of 3 of the day. Mad Lions Koi versus GAM, and Lore caught up with Melzet, their coach of Mad Lions Koi, in today's Verizon Game Day interview.
Melzet, thank you so much for joining me ahead of this important series for you guys. You tweeted some stuff a couple of days ago about reactions from the fans on social media, about the champions and what you have been drafting. Can you tell me more about this reaction and also how much it affected you guys and the players maybe?
I think people in social media tends to analyze games just by champions or builds and flame the players because of that. It happens also to Hansama with the Lord Dominic and all of that. And the reason behind losing a game is not just the champions and the build only, it's a small percentage. And I think that affects a lot of the players. I'm tired of that shit. So I tweeted that because I was angry. We are here to learn. We were learning how to play against the best teams in the world. So yeah, the champions are not the problem.
Keeping these fundamentals in mind and hoping that you guys are ready for today, what has been your biggest improvement from the game you played against PSG to be ready today for this series?
I think we are now more confident on what we are trying to do now, about how we play the map, how we hold the spots, how we play the waves. So I hope that shows off. Anyway, we came from losers, so the confidence is not super high, but I hope we can show it.
You can thrive in these kind of situations, I believe in you. Thank you so much, Melzet, and best of luck today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it can be rough at Worlds, but also in general. People always have something to say. Mel's
I hear what he's saying.
Do you agree?
It depends.
I would say draft is part of it. You know, there are some like big sins that that people have come to recognize, and giving away Yone is like one of the biggest sins right now. And especially if you have good combinations with the champion. We're also seeing all the success of Rumble and everything. So that's where the stuff builds from. Obviously, not one thing is always going to be the problem.
Yeah. Where I agree is where he says not just.
Yeah.
Right? Because I do think it was an issue, but it's like, if you have a lot of problems with your car, like if you don't have a door and you have a flat tire, and everyone's talking about
in this case, they didn't have an engine.
Not having the door. Well, that depends on how you look at it.
Perhaps. Who knows?
We can move on.
Anyways, we shall move on. It is an elimination series for both of these teams, and very different context, but we can feel, or we can find rather common ground as well. It is Mad Lions coin now, but I think a lot of people still kind of connect the Mad Lions brand with some of the failures at Worlds, but they also had some great successes, and I think the fact that it's the rookies in Aljoya now making it to Swiss is great, but they don't want to be knocked out yet.
Yeah, and all these MDK Worlds histories are the Aljoya era. He's been top 4 MSI 2021. He made it into the quarterfinals in Worlds 2021. Wants to be able to get back here, but we are in the lowest of the low bracket that you can get in the Swiss stage before being eliminated, so it's definitely time to step up.
At least not playing so that you get knocked out.
They did great.
Yeah.
They did great. Are you really in Swiss stage if you don't win a game, though?
You know, we'll see today.
Yes, you are. That was a trick. Correct.
Regardless, though, for GAM, I think in summary, ever since they burst onto the scene, I feel like there's a ceiling that they, for me, haven't been able to puncture yet. And of course, they'll have to survive today in order to show if they can.
And that's a good point, because they're at the ceiling right now. This is the ceiling. So if they start punching up, if they can actually break through, then it'll be super fun. I mean, this already, like, you're really happy for Levi and for Kiaya, and you're kind of like hoping for more success because they've gone through so much stuff with the league and all the troubles.
Absolutely, and of course next year there'll be the merger, so this is very important on many, many fronts. And talking about Kiaya and Levi, those really are the strong points that have also inspired us, I feel like, in their Worlds run right now.
For sure. I feel like GAM are definitely going to want to play top side of the map. Meanwhile, you look at Mad Lions, they're probably going to want to play the other side of the map, but top side for GAM, even in their losses, I always feel like Kiaya is doing so much to try and get them back into a positive place in the game. Him and Levi have been the 2 biggest points of power, so that's why I kind of see this matchup as both teams focusing the opposite areas. I mean, we'll see about drafts, because draft, of course, it can always be crazy, especially with Merwin. But I feel like that's where they should be, focusing. You mentioned Super and Alvaro being so big for them in plans.
Yeah, Alvaro was the standout player for Mad Lions for me. Every time they needed the big play to happen in the play-in stage, he was absolutely there to make it. Just incredibly clutch. This was one moment where just like frame perfect interrupting Maple Zakali. This was a pretty much game deciding moment. Another one here, PSG actually had the lead in this game. He stops LeBlanc completely in his tracks. And then Supa ended up getting incredibly fed on the backside of these fights and carried the team to victory. So those two almost need to reach back, to the type of confidence they were playing with in the play-in stage. And then the elephant in the room would be their solo laners needing to step up. But I think to Kobe's point, like, we're going to see, it's not a mirror, it's the bot lane versus the top lane. I think we're going to see a lane swap. Like, I really think we're going to see a hard lane swap to try and put Kiaya behind and allow the bot lane Super and Alvaro to have roaming of the map.
Exactly, because the lane swap disproportionately benefits teams that want to play through their bottom lane, because top laners are the ones that starve. So if you're facing GAM, very good strategy to try and get their best players behind.
Yeah, do you feel like the meta is incredibly open, and then this best of 3, you can make certain choices very differently from the other team still? And is that, as a viewer, I feel like that's really fun to watch?
100%. I think the meta right now is really, really fun because they have not fully figured it out. And the best player in that wild card of picks is going to be Mad Lions. Bin had actually really funny trash talk versus Mad Lions at the beginning of the tournament. He was
this is when he should pull it out.
Yeah, he was like, you're going to need to save your crazy picks for when you are 0-1. But now they're facing elimination, 0-2 already. So they cannot save any strategies. You cannot save any crazy picks. Pull them all out now.
Yeah, and if you think, oh, well, wouldn't you want to take it, more standard because it is elimination? No, in game 5 versus G2, they pulled out the Nidalee. So they really don't care what time it is. They just want to win, quite obviously. But if we kind of summarize both of their stories, we touched on it already. This is, potential final showing for the VCS in this form of their league. We have the merger coming up with the PCS as well, which is a theme throughout today in the Battle of the Americas later as well. So I think it'll be very important for those guys who've been through a lot in the VCS and really don't want to go out with a whimper.
Absolutely. Levi is an absolute legend. He's a huge threat along with Kiaya. I think it will be an interesting meta to see what type of Shyvana action we see today.
Oh, yes, I almost forgot.
If it
I
just
think
gets
the action
banned
might
early,
be in the form of ban, yeah.
Okay, maybe.
I don't know. There's so many bans, and I know we don't have much time, but the Ziggs and Rumble are the AP threats that allow the AD mids to exist. And those have been taking up so much ban space that it's allowing other stuff through. So if you start banning the Shyvana, you're opening yourself up to the Yone stuff again. But that's for later in the series.
I mean, hopefully we'll see. We'll be able to talk about it, of course. I do want to check in with our MasterCard fan prediction of the day to see how our fans have voted. And yeah, MDK, 69.1%. Nice. And GAM, 30.
Because Matt is the favorite.
30.9%.
Nice.
I'm going to say we were talking about this matchup before, and I feel like for MDK, I feel like they have regressed a little bit in the context of this tournament because they came out, they had the best of 3 that they won versus PSG to then promptly lose to PSG, right? They don't feel like themselves currently, and I think I need to see that again today.
All right, that's what happened to FlyQuest at MSI. We had a little switcheroo with
kerfuffle.
PSG as well.
It's the mental game. It's the mental side of the World Championship. Just because you're playing against a minor region team at Worlds doesn't mean they're going to be anything less than. And I got to remind people last year, I don't have to remind people what I'm going to. GAM knocked out a 0-2 TL in this exact same spot. So GAM is going to be the confident team in this situation. And MDK needs to overcome whatever tilt they're feeling from being down here in the first place.
Yeah, it almost feels like GAM are specialists in this.
0-2 specialists?
0-2 specialists, the final knockout to one of the teams that is expected. But yeah, we haven't...
How do you feel? Are you nervous?
I am a little bit nervous because on the one hand, I feel like they have shown a lot already and nobody even expected them to get to Worlds format, but I hate giving up a team before they've played because I think that is disrespectful to what they could show, right? And you just have to look at the games. So we'll see. It's going to be either GAM or Mad Lions Koi that leave us, unfortunately, today after having fought valiantly. Let's continue with the Swiss stage of Worlds 2024.
And we're back for more Worlds after such an exciting day number 1. The Swiss only opened things up.
Is there going to be a team that play more seed than us? More defense champions?
I'm not sure. Maybe the Vietnamese league. They play a lot of crazy stuff. Of course, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm angry. I'm not playing my best still.
PSG get their revenge from playing.
I want to figure out what's going on exactly. Because I think we are capable of way more than what we are showing right now.
Mình nghĩ là mình đã trải qua khá nhiều cảm xúc tiêu cực. Có buồn, có thất vọng, có giận dữ về bản thân, có tiếc nuối. Nhưng mà sau tất cả thì ở thời điểm hiện tại thì mình nghĩ là mình cần phải phục hồi thật là nhanh chóng. Tại vì chung kết thế giới vẫn còn đó.
It's time to wake up. It's time to play with confidence. We have nothing to lose. We just need to prove everyone wrong again. And we just need to go with everything we have.
Ở những thời điểm như thế này thì thử thách rất là nhiều cái niềm tin vào những người đồng đội với nhau. Và nếu như bọn mình từ bỏ ở thời điểm hiện tại thì bọn mình sẽ không còn cơ hội có thể chiến thắng. Vậy nên bọn mình sẽ vẫn chọn tin tưởng lẫn nhau.
O nível aqui fora é muito alto.
And Pain Gaming can only watch as T1 rip them apart.
E a gente ainda tem muito para buscar. Mas a gente tem que encarar isso com bons olhos e usar isso como motivação para vir mais forte. Para mim o mais importante agora é o time não quebrar, continuar confiando uns nos outros, porque a gente precisa um dos outros para vencer. Enquanto a gente for um time, um confiar no outro, a gente ainda tem chance. Vai buscar essa redenção. Essa última chance que a gente tem.
I think when you have issues like this,
I actually thought Liquid had a good solid chance in that game, and then they threw it.
it's very important to look at the man in the mirror and just figure out how to fix it yourself. My mentality is honestly just that we can do it.
Para os meus teammates, eu confio muito em cada um de vocês. Eu espero que vocês confiem em mim também.
We're currently in the same position we were last year.
TL, though, obviously heartbreaking loss for them.
But the difference this time is we're still all mentally sound, and it feels very winnable.
Keep believing in us, and we'll make it.
Cả đội đã vượt qua rất là nhiều khó khăn trong năm nay. Hãy cùng nhau cố gắng thêm một chút nữa.
We're not out of this tournament yet. We can still make it into the quarterfinal stage.
A gente pode não ser o melhor do mundo, mas a gente tem uma das melhores torcidas do mundo. Tamo junto, amo vocês. A gente vai dar tudo de si.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Worlds 2024. Today is Elimination Day. 2 best-of-3s and 2 teams leaving the Worlds stage. First up, Mad Lions going up against GAM. 2 enter, 1 remains. I'm Captain Flowers, joined today by Azael and Dagda to bring y'all the action, and I'm excited to see who's got what it takes to earn the right to stay here on this stage.
I mean, the pressure is really ramping up. No more second chances are remaining. These teams have got to put up or shut up.
Yeah, and I think that's really what it all boils down to today. GAM has had some great moments in this tournament. MDK, we've seen incredible performances from players like Alvaro, but you need to put everything on the line here today if you want to try and bring it home.
And honestly, it's 2 teams that basically have had the same tournament. They both did very well in play-ins. You know, GAM went undefeated in play-ins. Mad was really strong in play-ins as well, but haven't really been able to get it rolling on the main stage. They know that they can beat this team. They both are going to be feeling that. They both are going to be feeling confident coming into today's match. And I think it's really just going to be about who can play confident and who can actually really show up on the day.
And I think it's about going back towards your play style as well. And I think when I looked at MDK's last draft, they were going towards things like the Smolder and the Ziggs, which kind of just felt very out of their wheelhouse. They're a team that likes to come onto the map early, take over and try and run away from the early game. And I felt like we didn't really get a chance to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as far as playing your own play style, Matt does not want Levi doing that on the Shyvana.
No.
Not only did he do well with it in play-ins, it was actually his most played throughout the year, you know, in the VCS, was very, very effective on it. And I think Levi really is at his best when he's playing this farm-heavy style.
Yeah, and I'm curious now if there's the respect given to Kiai as well, because I think his jacks in their last game was almost the reason they were able to turn that game around. So I think a lot of respect has to be given to that top laner too, because he's a monster. And if he can control Mirwin, that could be the in that GAM need for this game.
Biggest problem I'm seeing right out of the gate, it didn't even take him till I got to say the name out loud. GAM playing on the red side, they banned the Skarner, they banned the Nidalee, they banned the Aurora, but the pick of the tournament so far, this Yone with the absolutely insane presence and win rate, 16-3. This champion so far at Worlds 2024. GAM lets it through. Mad are swift to pick it up. Their own bans, the Shyvana, the Rumble, and the Poppy. Anytime you get Yone, you are feeling great about the draft.
Absolutely. I mean, it is pretty shocking that GAM are going to be willing to give it over. Obviously, Yoya, you know, did really well on the Nidalee and play-ins, especially that was kind of the big focus from him there. Skarner is a pretty high pro pick, so is Aurora, but the tournament has felt like it's all been about Yone. And while Akali is a pretty strong answer here, Akali is a similar style of champion. The biggest difference to me is just that Yone does not have to really commit himself to the play in the same way. With the Soul Unbound, you can go forward, you can always snap back if it's looking bad. You're not in the same level of risk that these other assassin-style champions are, like Akali, when you go in.
Yeah, I think on the opposite side though, Levi is still getting a lot of comfort here on the Wukong, and near 87% rate on this pick, and it's absolutely absurd in his hands. And we're still seeing the Ziggs come out for Supa, so MDK going back towards the style that I'm still waiting to see if it works for Supa in the bottom lane, but at least you have Freskewi going on towards these melee champions that he does like to enjoy.
All right, let's see what GAM wants to go ahead and respond to. The second round of picks for Mad, not just going to be that Ziggs, but the Maokai are along with it, so they will have some engage, a little bit of lockup for the damage for that Yone, for the Ziggs. Over on GAM's side, though, it is dive, Akali plus Wukong plus Kai'Sa. They are going in.
Yeah, and I think that's where you're going to see more than likely support bans trying to come through here for MDK. GAM still have that first rotation, so I think they'll try and lock in a Leona or something like a Rel on that next one, but at least maybe you can try and get something a little bit different. Alvaro's looked great on the Alistair, but even a Nautilus works very well with the Ziggs.
It's kind of interesting though, because honestly, you know, if I was MDK, I'd rather be banning out top laners, because there's so many good supports that fit in the same class to me, where it's like you have Alistar, you have Rel, you have Leona, you have Nautilus. Like you aren't going to be able to really deny everything that they can go towards. So I'll see if they do want to go that route, but I do think throwing some protection bans for Mirwin is smart, because Kiaya obviously, you know, going to be 5th pick here on Red's side. He has been, to me, undebatably by far the strongest player, you know, from GAM. He has really been good. This guy is world class. So I think, you know, you do want to protect your top laner.
And hey, it looks like MDK is thinking the same thing. You are Azale Jax, the first ban here from them in the second half. Meanwhile, GAM taking the Alistar out of the picture. Very good, powerful counter engage on this champion alongside engage. I can see the value in not wanting your divers to all be vulnerable to a pulverize at the same time, being knocked back away from the head. But Leona now also going to be banned out there, so taking out 2 of those potential tanky engage supports.
Yeah, and I mean, if I was Mad now, I was going to say you could even just potentially not do another support ban here, and you could do a spell trade, but if they're happy going for a different direction, I think that's fine. I would expect Nautilus. I mean, it's like been the most common pairing with Kai'Sa pretty much since Kai'Sa came out. Blitz would be pretty spicy, but I don't think we're going to be seeing this without knowing what the support is.
Yeah, I think the Rakan is your best bet if you want that sort of engage tool still, and with so many of the other big engage tools down, that feels like it fits perfectly into the wheelhouse. The only thing that I've really seen bringing a Blitzcrank has been like JD or things like Maokai Blitzcrank comp, and seeing if they can make that work, but I think the Nautilus works really well here. It's something we see a lot paired with the Ziggs, just because you get that point and click ultimate from the Nautilus to set up then for the follow-up ultimate from the Ziggs, and if you've even got a Yone in the mix too, it means that something like a Kai'Sa could very quickly be mowed down.
Okay, never mind. When they changed last second to Lulu there for a second, I was like, oh, interesting.
It could also be Lulu top. We have seen before, so
never underestimate Mirwin's champion. All right, so we do have the Nautilus locked in here for MDK, and the top laner will be one of the classic blinds in Gnar. So what does Kiaya want to pick into this? The Jax, the only thing they banned out in that second phase to protect the top lane. I'm curious where GAM's going to go here. The rest of the team is all going in full send.
Oh, okay. This is going to be really interesting. So it's very likely to be Smolder top here. There is some small chance that they could actually flex these around, but it should be Smolder top. I'm going to be interested to see how this actually goes out. You know, I do expect that Mirwin should be winning the 1v1 in the early stages. Smolder, though, you're just kind of playing for push, you're playing for stacks. You don't really need to be winning the actual 1v1 fights, as long as you can kind of ignore the Gnar and just kind of fight the minions.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of, hey, look, I've got a slightly longer range. Maybe I can look for some stacking opportunities on the Gnar, but as Azale is saying, it's just to take it easy, just play for that push for the Smolder and make things just neutral in that regard, and you get to scale into the later portion of the game. I am definitely keeping my eyes on the level 6 though for this mid jungle from GAM, because I feel like once Akali hits 6 and Wukong hits 6, those Void Grub fights can be so explosive for this comp, but it's up against Maokai and Yone on the opposite side.
And you know, this split, including playoffs and regular season, this will be the 6th Smolder for Kiaya. He is 4-1 on the pick thus far, so has been pretty successful for him. You know, not one of his most played, but he does have an incredibly deep champion pool. A lot of his most popular picks obviously banned out here, but going towards that Smolder, and does give them a bit of that scaling win condition potentially here over on the GAM side. But I will say it maybe feels a little bit disjointed from what the rest of the comp wants to do, though of course, you know, the ulti is always good at assisting dive.
Yeah, the big question I have is how does it fit in with the rest of the dive? Can they get the value out of it since everybody else is going full send all the way in?
And that's what I'm really kind of worried about for the Dragon here, is that it's like, you know, yes, you can throw out the ulti if the rest of your team is diving in, but at the same time, if Yone's in your face, no one is really going to be there necessarily to peel. It seems like the rest of the composition all wants to go forward, so you could end up in these weird situations where you're kind of just like fighting against the Maokai and the Yone and always losing out. So we'll see how they do make it happen.
It's also as you start to move in towards like topside skirmishes. Yes, the Smolder is strong in the later portion, but early skirmishes definitely on the way of MDK.
We are already starting out with a couple of punches being thrown back and forth here as Emo loses about half the HP. Of course, it's so early on in the game time that it'll be very easy for him to go back and recover that with no real meaningful loss. Where are you guys expecting to see most of our action early on here in this game? Because I feel like with these two teams, it's got to be a bloody one, right?
Well, I mean, we're seeing them all stack up level 1. So, you know, MDK are looking for a 5-man invade here towards Raptors, trying to get some vision, potentially trying to figure out, is there going to be a lane swap here? You know, Ziggs and Nautilus obviously can be pretty effective in those lane swaps, but I also think they'd be pretty happy to be going up against this 2v2 here from GAM. So I think they're really just trying to get intel, figure out where this is going to be going, and they're actually initiating the lane swap.
Yeah, I think it's to try and just punish Kiaya, right?
Yeah.
Because this motor is not going to do well left on his lonesome underneath the tower. And it's also paired with Rakan, so someone that's also quite squishy in those early stages. So I think for MDK, it's, hey, we get to leave Supa on his own. He can just farm it out. And then we can start to move Alvaro in the map and get him involved very early. Because I think that's also how they break up in this game is after this lane swap's complete, trying to play around for a Scowie with Elyoya, with Alvaro, and get this Yone rolling.
And MDK are kind of going for the very, what I consider to be like LCK style lane swap, where you just have your support lane mid, you know, alongside what in the regular season was always another AD carry. But in this case, it is going to be Kiaya laning with Emo here for now. He's just going to be kind of that backup and looking to see if he can get some stacks on these melee champions in those early levels. But yeah, it is going to set that Smolder quite a bit behind. Obviously, on the other side, Mirwin's going to be set behind as well, but it's less important for the Nara.
I think it's also the fact that in their last game, GAM did not look so hot when it came towards the lane swap. It said Easy Love very, very far behind. And yes, Kiaya did come out on top in the jacks, but I think that's where MDK kind of looked at that and said, GAM just don't really look like they're fully prepared for this. Now, Alvaro's moved down. We've seen this before. The TP should be coming through very shortly for Mirwin to come and join him on this bottom side. I don't think this dive is going to be very successful for GAM.
Well, let's see. They still got a few more minions to clear through on the wave. They are crashing the wave into the top lane tier 1.
This is guaranteed kill. He's level 1.
Alvaro already flashing. Hits level 2 right after the flash. Levi has to back out of the way of the Turbid aggro. Supa arrives, and the GAM dive fails on the first pass. It looks like they're coming back in to try to keep it going here as Alvaro about to be killed. There it is. Supa wants to get one back onto Levi, but he doesn't quite have the damage here just yet. Flashing past the grand entrance. Supa picks up Levi, makes it a 1-for-1.
I think the overgrade coming through from GAM on the repeat dive, they've gotten away. They should have just looked for the resets, but instead they try and go 1-4. Supa comes out with a kill, and Mirwin is chasing these GAM members right the way home.
Yeah, this is actually, you know, at the end of the day, though, still not that bad. Nice play from Supa, flashing up over that Rakan W there to be able to actually trade a kill back. If they didn't get that, would have been really good for GAM. And we do have TP available on Kiaya, so he can just TP straight towards top, where Mirwin TP down towards bot and Supa TP down towards bot as well. So at the end of the day, you got first blood on the Dragon here for Kiaya. I think GAM are still pretty happy with the play. You know, definitely was a little bit more dicey than I was expecting because Alvaro got level 2 right as they were going for that dive, and that made it a little more difficult.
Let's check back in mid here where everybody's still just farming pretty normally. For a Scowie, down to about half HP, but still comfortable enough here. Down about 10 CS though, so falling a little bit behind is Alvaro and Supa trying to get this wave pushed up, crashed into the tier 1 turret. Alvaro caught by the grand entrance, so a little bit of damage going to find its way into the health bar as he's down to 300. Going to need to be a little bit careful here as Levi is still in his blue quadrant, could make his way down if MDK stay pushed.
And that's why I don't think Supa was really helping him out on the engage. It was toss everything in towards that wave to just get a crash so they're not overextended for a potential play from Levi. But at the moment, the CS lead working out well for them. It's just when you look at that top side, Kiaya gonna have a lot of pressures. Elio just goes in for a sec.
Yeah, it looks like Elio's just trying to annoy them, stop the backs, but he is now pretty low on HP, down to 200. Gets out of the way of the satchel charge, which looks like Supa was trying to interrupt him in the battle dance, maybe stop him from getting away on that one, trying to get a summoner spell, but does not quite have the placement or the timing.
Yeah, and I think he's going forward, you know, kind of trying to harass them there and see if they'd overcommit on a chase, because again, as you touched on earlier, Levi was in the area, he was in the pixel brush in the river, so, you know, if MDK did get a little aggressive in that 2v2, could have been bad, but also Supa does lose a little bit of tempo here. It's going to give more time for Easy Love to be able to crash this wave. I don't think Supa's going to lose much, if any of it, but at the very least, it'll give Easy Love the time to be able to get this wave in and get his base off.
All right, TP back to the mid lane from Emo. First purchase is going to have the Hextech alternator there. Always feels good to be able to at least have enough gold for the first major component after you use that first TP. Friscowie's now going to take the opportunity to go back to base himself, grabs the Berserker Greaves, now full build on Yone. back up in top lane. I
you
have
thought you
to.
could just slip it in there.
I have to, man. The champion finally has the win rate that justifies my disdain for him.
但这个走位也太明显了吧
！Below half HP, gonna have to.
一看就知道后面有人啊。
Disdain for the jungler here pretty quick.
Yeah, Elio also.
六空有闪，死了，再见。
Tries to get the bounce away. Nicely done. Flashes over the wall just in time to avoid the knockup from the Grand Entrance.
It's nice for him to escape, but this wave is still in an awful spot for him. He has no TP to get back here, and the wave is pushing away from him. And you've already got a nice gold lead opening up thanks to that early kill for Kiaya, and that's only going to extend even further now.
And that's why I think the dive actually was quite good for GAM, because they got double TP out, they got first blood. Yes, you trade a kill, but overall they went out pretty heavily on the map, and Smolder's in a good spot now.
Ooh, nice dredge line there coming out from Alvaro. Elio has to flash away, but it still don't matter. That's Yone, baby. That's why you ban him.
Nicely done. The fate sealed might have missed, but Frescowi recognizing he can still flash forward for the last little bit of damage. MDK up 1.
And that's huge for Elioya to actually set up these Void Grubs, because yes, you've got that big lead for Kiaya in that top side, but a lot of that lead was on Super, who was trying to roam up to that play, but was going to be a little bit late. So the fact you get that kill in mid just sets up beautifully now for MDK, not only with the gold, but the objective as well.
Yeah, and the kill going on to Frescowi is also going to feel so good. Easy Love getting pretty low here. You can see MDK are thinking about, do we want to actually go for the wraparound dive? Elioya and Alvaro in the spot to do it, and if he is caught window shopping, that was so I cannot believe he didn't flash that. That was like...
That looked like it was hit.
Calculated.
Honestly, that looked like it should have hit with how Nautilus hooks normally
with the bubble at the end. Yeah, exactly. I thought he was just about to just die.
And obviously Super agreed. That immediate ult was like, oh, I've got him, and then just barely have to escape.
If it did hit, he would have been in the sweet spot. I feel
cool
like
guys don't look at explosions. He just walked away.
Oh, his sunglasses were on in that one, man. He was just walking
just the visor, the helmet comes down.
Things going good for MDK right now. Up 1 kill, up a little bit of gold, but the 3 Void Grubs is the best part so far. But Levi has stolen away the enemy red buff. Alvaro flashing over the wall to chase him here. Levi now critically low, has to try to get away. Flashes over the wall himself. Going to be protected by his support, but he will not be protected enough. Levi's got no way home except in a body bag. Nicely done from MDK, but they aren't done yet. Emo's your next target. 3v1. Akali popping the smoke, trying to get away from this one. Emo firing back with a 5-point strike, but there ain't nothing else to do. MDK, another 1-for-0 trade, punishing the red buff steal.
I mean, it's a nice thought from Levi. Go for the invade, get the red buff, but he's a little bit too late because Elioya had already come back to the map, was moving down there, and they just get caught out with the numbers advantage. 2 kills over to this Yone in the mid lane.
完全无压力发挥。他前面 MDK 设计的所有套路去针对斯莫德，全都没有作用。反倒是纳尔，如果一开始正常对线的话，纳尔现在不至于被压这么多。
And I think this is a big test now for Frescowi because we've seen him get leads in the LEC before, but he hasn't always been able to convert them across.
纳尔现在有
like the Tristana game he had against Fnatic.
很难很难很难。
With such a great start, this is a moment where he can step back and kind of shake off some of those narratives.
Absolutely, and I mean, honestly, you know, for a tournament where I think a lot of people were expecting maybe more from the MDK solo laners, you know, there was a lot of hype around Mirwin coming in, but it's been more around the bot lane and the jungle, right? You know, I think Supa and Alvaro.
那说这一套没有意义啊，没有什么意义呢？关注一下，趁着变大，然后自己掉几个兵，都亏更多。但是有越塔不一样。 完了，斯莫德炸，斯莫德炸。哎，不过能吃兵还可以，兵吃了不少，那还可以，那还可以。 斯莫德吃兵还是快。如果刚才那波兵没有清掉的话，斯莫德这波血炸。 直接爆炸。
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you start getting the push, if Ziggs starts getting access to the towers, it can be frightening. They obviously already have those 3 grubs. Emo is going to be able to trade 1 plate down on that bot side, and do have some scaling threats, but MDK really in control, feeling comfortable thus far.
GAM 现在问题是感觉猴子找不到什么节奏。猴子现在没闪，确实不好抓人。 哇，这被狗到。
Fate sealed and Dredgeline again. It's Alvaro setting things up for Frescowi, but they just barely don't have enough damage to get another kill.
GM 你得拿点头，你得拿点人头，兄弟。
I thought he was doomed in that position, but good flash and the follow-up on the perfect execution managed to escape.
I mean, survives. It's nice, but at the same time,
你再不拿人头的话，中期不好打，我大头就没了。
So now he has no flash, he has no ulti. So when you're looking towards this next fight at Grubs, well, what is Akali going to get done there? Probably not a lot. So MDK could potentially look for that 6 grub play here. And we'll see if they're going to go for it, as Soup is just TPing straight back to mid. He has the Luden's Companion done now, so it's going to be at quite a strong point of the game.
I feel like these neutral objectives are far more desynced than they are in most games that we see. Usually they're around the same time where one and the other gets taken, sometimes desynced by a minute or two, but 4-minute desync means that everybody's pretty much just only got one thing they're looking at on the map right now, and MDK are the first ones to the prize. 4 grubs are already secured, so they will have Void Mites, but they would love to have the extra ones here from these other 2, and GAM is nowhere in the neighborhood, so it looks like this will be an easy 6-grub game 1 for MDK.
Yeah, they're kind of window shopping in a different neighborhood, though. I wasn't sure if they wanted to try and hop over that wall.
乐童拿是有点完蛋。
Alvaro was just on the reset, but
人头已经开27.5。
steal away some of these camps on the bottom side. Although Frescowi going to spot out, and it looks like Levi in a second.
Mirwin trying to get the extended trade here on Kiaya. Narbar nearly charged, transforms there with a wallop onto the cannon minion just to make sure he gets the extra little bit of HP. Is getting kind of low here.
Yeah, and Kiaya does still have the ulti available, so Mirwin has to be a little bit careful. Right. You know, if you get tagged by a couple more spells, you might actually be able to look for the all-in. I mean, one more Q, a W, and an ult, you could actually die here. So Mirwin just trying to push out that wave, but this is getting a bit dicey.
苏莫德又死。哎，都是视野。哎，好换到一个还，我这血麻转了。 但上一塔要丢，一塔丢太早。
Yeah, you're playing with fire. The dragon's definitely gonna burn you. Mirwin was so low, but really stubborn. You know, didn't want to give up the push there. Really wanted to be able to make it crash. Gives over an easy one to Kiaya, and the fact that he didn't even get a single auto on him for a trade.
猴子是真的完全没有节奏这把。
Feeling pretty happy about that, but still, the 6 scrubs they take down the tower. It's still, you know,
猴子的节奏太差了，真的。
Yeah, didn't even have to use the helicopter parent in that one. Got to hold on to the ult. All working well out for GAM, but yeah, as you say, the tower taking, the gold's still going to be there, and the fact you're still investing a lot more time from GAM onto this bottom side sets up mid.
All right, they want to go in after Easy Love here. He commits the Killer Instinct pretty early, pops both Summoner spells as well.
我觉得这把我上真的，我节奏都比例外好。
That's what I was gonna say. Is I think he didn't realize that there wasn't any damage dealers coming. Right. I think with just the ultimate alone, yeah, you're gonna take some damage, but you can kind of just slowly walk your way out. And maybe he was nervous about where Frescowi was on that Yone.
I think he wasn't certain on Super's ult timer because you can see.
你看这把大叔做了多少事情，猴子做多少事情。
Yeah, I think you can definitely see the pressure on GAM to make sure that they're not giving away some of these easy kills.
I mean, hey, that's just going to be that many more opportunities for MDK to put a target on this guy's forehead, right? Like, it'll be very, very easy to kill this Kai'Sa without those resources, considering how easily they've been finding picks so far in the first 14 minutes of the game.
Well, and it's kind of a similar problem to what we saw happen, you know, to Emo in the bot lane, where he loses his summoners, he loses ultimate right before a fight. Well, guess what? In a minute here, we're going to have the dragon spawning. You know, Herald is up now, so it's like you can't really fight Herald with no sums and no ulti on Kai'Sa. So even though they don't earn themselves a kill, MDK are going to earn themselves objectives with every one of these plays.
It's a down payment, right? You don't get anything immediately, but here in a couple of minutes, you're going to see some dividends. As now, they're looking to see another kill. Emo trying to get himself away, but the Wombo combo, man, immediately the Nature's Grasp. Mega Inferno by Fate sealed one after the other after the other. And right now, it is Matt's game. And GAM are just living in it.
Yeah, you can see it in the Mastercard lane economy snapshot, but it might be about to change. As Mirwin will just hop away. But still, it's just good moves around the map from MDK. Yes, they will lose mid-turret, but they've got so much gold. And also, the inhibitor.
而且怎么高地都没有。
Not even 15 minutes, bro. They broke the base.
Isn't MDK usually in the opposite side of this?
What is happening?
Well, I mean, they're getting a lot of.
这越南队打的也太智障了吧！真的，都什么玩意儿？这打的是？
They push in mid. They do get that tier 1. They get a little bit of chip damage down on that bot side as well on the tier 2, and they will go towards the dragon. It is now a 2.5K gold lead for MDK, though. They have been punishing these side lanes so effectively with that Zigzal. I mean, Supa is really strong at this point, already up 1K, and that Zigzal.
欧魂是吗？水啊，从后面用着吧。两边都是爆发阵容，神魂真没啥用。
This is a significantly cleaner version of TP behind.
Yeah, we got the TP going in as Elio engages with the quickness. Mom swoops in. Alvaro's the first to die as Elio grabs the kill. Emo versus Supa off to the side is another shutdown.
GAM 牛逼。
Elioya in the middle of everybody flashes back over the wall into the bot side. River trying to use
GAM GAM.
Another one killed on GAM's side. Elioya so incredibly low, but he goes back in. Levi still takes him out.
GAM GAM 牛逼。 14个口，瞬间14个口，16分钟打出14个口，好吧？这把就算28.5没打出来，我也认。
MDK able to turn it around.
Exactly, and to me, it's all about the target selection here for GAM. Look at the targets that are caught. It is the support, it is the jungle, it is not the carries that are really being threatened. Emo on the side does catch onto Supa, but the Gnar, the Yone are largely untouched, are doing so much damage. You know, Levi's flashing over the wall, again, chasing to try to kill off the enemy Maokai. It's just not the right target to be dumping the damage into.
16分钟14个头说明什么？阵容是奔着大头去的，但 GM 真的太菜。
Those summoner spells, the long cooldowns that they got earlier, it earned them this fight that Mirwin is able to just stomp his way out of.
哇，你看越南，他们表情，这表情有点搞笑。
It may not be working out for them in game number 1, but MDK definitely going to be wary of it as this series goes on.
All right, Levi gets caught here by the twisted advance, and now Alvaro again just ready to keep him locked up with the dredge line. Maokai ulti coming through too. Supa backs up. He knows that Levi's only potential play here would be to try to jump onto him and find some burst, but it ain't going to happen. MDK up 5,000 gold, 17 minutes into the game.
28.5应该没有。GM 现在很难再拿到人头。
Nice engage from Alvaro. They get the kill on Kiaya through the flash anyway. Elio's way too late to try to save anybody, and GAM is absolutely shattered in game number 1. MDK is showing them how it's done.
And this is some of the cleanest League of Legends I'm seeing. MDK
还差13个头，13个头，1波0换5个，还得 GM 横竖得赢1波团。 但他现在这个经济差不支持他赢任何一波团。
I mean, it's a massive gold lead at this point, just about 7,000.
高清画质。
In the advantage for MDK, they got the 6 early grubs off of that early pressure that they were putting on. They were never allowing GAM to really be in a good spot to fight prior to those objectives. And GAM realized the game was slipping away, go for that one punch in that TP play, can't find the right targets, get burst down, and now it is just feeling nearly impossible. Yone on those 2 items, incredibly strong. Everyone across the board has a massive advantage. I mean, it's 2.6K gold lead for the Yone. That's almost an entire item.
Yeah, and I gotta give more props to Alvaro. I feel like the dredge lines have been so on point throughout this entire game. Nautilus is the champ that I pick every year in my pick'ems to be the inting king. This champion is so easy to just throw yourself into the black and white screen on, and he's been doing a great job of setting up plays, not overextending, putting himself in a spot. Did I really just curse it?
No, he's fine. He's fine. He's
okay,
good.
all right, he got away. I had to make sure. I'm so sorry, Alvaro.
But I think you're right, Flares. And this was something when initially he came into the league back in winter, he was phenomenal. Everyone was like, oh my God, we've got this rookie support that is terrorizing the league, in conversation for one of the best supports in our league right now. And then it kind of drifted into spring and summer, and we just didn't see that same Alvaro. But coming into season finals and playoffs, and now on the world stage, Alvaro is showing why he was making such a name for himself at the start of the year. And it's great to see this rookie performing on.
GM 现在没什么抓单的。
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, players love to talk about how much you can actually learn at a tournament like this, and to be able to see, some of that development here live on stage is awesome. MDK also picking up so many of those luxury items that are going to deny any possible comeback from GAM. There's double locket. There's a Seekers on the Ziggs. They're going to go for the EH.
Ooh, Supa with the flash away.
伤害不够，伤害根本就不够。
Zoned out here as well as Mirwin makes his teleport into the fight. The satchel charge secures the destruction of, remember, this is the second tier 3 turret destroyed in the GAM base. That first one up in the top lane was destroyed 5 minutes ago. The Akali smoke has to be used here as Supa now with no flash left to try to get away. Killer instinct jumps in.
完了，一波0换5，直接一波，一波，没啊，全开门黑。
Nice stasis from Supa to survive the dive in from Emo, who's still trying to go back in for him. Finds the kill finally, but he's going to trade his own life back for it anyway. 3 dead on GAM for only Supa on MDK.
守不住，对面有6重的。
Straight for the throat. Mira was just in the base the entire time clearing out these minions, and now it's just a red carpet and it's GAM's blood that they're walking over.
It's Elio and Levi trying to stop the game from ending just barely 20 minutes in. Levi's about to die and Elio can't do a thing about it. MDK still got a couple of
阵容确实是个大头阵容，但是好吧，实力差距太大。 你前面挖的坑太大了，根本填不上。这把自己玩死了。前面真的那个猴子，我觉得 GAM 这打野是真的，这把问题太大，那全场零作用。
From MDK in game number 1. They run it back like that again, and we might have ourselves a pretty fast series here to kick off the first elimination day at Worlds 2024. We'll be back with more right after this. We're heading to a break. Don't go anywhere.
Red Bull gives you wings.
在抵达那一刻之前，
你能做的只有等待。
如果故事再重来一次，我想 JK Line 还会做出相同的选择。
等待比分失衡，企图从中看清胜负的端倪。
等待一切安静，好听清自己脑海里的声音，直到抓住那一刻。
On the verge of self-destruction.
clock in with the fastest victory at Worlds 2024 as you're taking a look at the Evi caster booth, the entire Mad Lions Koi troop, who cannot seem to believe it themselves. But I mean, I will say it's awesome, obviously, because I'm from Europe. Not as awesome, though, for GAM, unfortunately, and quite surprising.
Yeah, apparently it was the 9th fastest in World's history.
What?
I just heard.
There's been a lot of World
That's
games.
Almost more impressive than fastest this World, but it actually does make sense.
I like fastest this World, you know, because MDK or Mad Lions, you know, they're known for fastest game in a different direction.
Oh, you did not.
So this is like retaking control, you know, retake the meme.
Retake the narrative. I like it. We were talking so much about kind of the coach Melzet and the way he talked about the draft, and you said, Jat, well, yeah, you made the car analogy.
Funny.
Does it continue?
It is pretty funny. They were saying it's not the only issue, but like upgrading your car is still going to help your driving ability.
Yeah.
I will say this. So having the Yone and Maokai themselves was pretty helpful.
So similar to the way that the draft wasn't the whole problem previously, draft wasn't the whole solution, but it was a big part of the solution, and Yone was at the core of it. This is the #1, you know, sin that we mentioned at the beginning of the day, was giving away Yone in draft. And obviously it was huge there, but they also got to pair it, like you're saying, with the big AoE from Maokai, with the big priority pick that Ziggs is as well. And this was full meta from MDK, and it was beautiful.
And I will also say, GAM did not cook with their draft.
No.
I don't exactly, they have all these flanking champions and then like a random smolder top. That's not going to work.
So I will say, at least, Kiaya was one of the really early adopters of top smolder. Even in spring, he was playing top smolder, so that's, you know, the angle, but I completely agree as far as the draft overall, and even the execution in game, even though he got that one solo kill into execution for himself, it was definitely a very rough look for GAMs. I would say they probably won't make similar mistakes here in game #2, but this was not close. This was a complete blasting.
Yeah, it was, and thanks, I guess, partly to that first pick and for our HyperX Reflex replay, we're just gonna watch this Yone cook because he was unleashed and he leashed back. And he jumped back and he jumped forward. And
he did
I see
Yone
what you did there.
I mean, this individual performance was one of probably the best game for Scowy's had at this entire World Championship. I can't believe. If I'm thinking about, I'm very selfish here, my crystal ball pick'ems, I never put Yone for highest winner because I never thought you could have a champion with that win rate that just continues to be let into the game.
It's crazy.
And I would also note that in a lot of these replays that you're seeing on your screen, there's another character here that is very frequent.
Really?
Yeah, Shox, maybe your favorite player on the team.
On this game, Alvaro. In fact, we were talking about this, and very early on I said, gents, should we create some kind of a role to highlight how well Alvaro is doing? And you said he hasn't shown us anything yet.
Kobe was very anti-Alvaro this entire time.
You are literally lying right now.
I was talking about how good he was. And then Kobe's like, no, I only want to see Yone.
Yeah. He's like, supports don't matter. I hate them, actually. Those were his exact words.
He did say that.
What the heck? What are you doing right now? Character assassination!
We overpowered Kobe, and we're going to show you the good Nautilus plays.
Yeah, come on. You can tell me this isn't good?
No, I never said it wasn't good.
Yeah, like, oh, he's just flashing over wall. Anyone could do that, he said.
I do it every day.
Yeah.
Not.
Man, he has been so good for this team, though, and especially just all worlds. You know, we mentioned at the very beginning, but, you know, getting them their wins very early on in play-ins and being such a consistent performer and playmaker for them. Just look really good once again here for MDK.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll head into game 2. I was looking at, of course, GAM played in the Swiss stage. They played Fnatic and FlyQuest, right? And they didn't manage to win those 2 games. So you could say for MDK it would be on par if they win, but I feel like it should be closer because I expect more from GAM when they play at their peak.
Well, this is interesting, too, because I asked you right before we went live, Shox, of like, if you were surprised. And I said I wasn't, and you said you were, but I think it's the mental game as well.
Yeah.
For MDK and even for GAM, because, like I said, last year we saw GAM knock Team Liquid out in this exact match when they were both 0-2. And we've seen teams at Worlds, if we're looking at MDK's shoes, when they go down 0-2, they receive a massive amount of community criticism during the tournament as well as before the tournament. It is easy to self-combust come out on stage and actually prove everybody right, even though they weren't right in the first place.
It's a good point, and you talked so much about kind of how the meta is and how it comes down to your bot lane being very proficient just because of the lane swaps, right? But do you think that if that Smolder top is not present and we see something there that can at least have a little bit more help or pressure, this is a different story, or does it not change?
I think Yone would also have to be not present.
Yes, of course.
That's
a given.
And that would help
given.
too. But once again, the lane swap is a big topic that we talked about in this matchup too.
Yeah.
And that could be repeated with very different drafts anyway.
Okay, I think GAM definitely have to make sure that Mad Lions Koi don't get off to as good of a start because that snowball, it was rolling down that hill and nobody could stop it.
No.
But I wonder what our casters think about this game too.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for game number 2 here in MDK versus GAM for an opportunity to still stay in the competition here at Worlds 2024. We have been informed that GAM has substituted out their strategic coach for this second game.
Yeah, and I think that's a really smart move after leaving Yone up on red side.
Oh, no.
It's the Yone rule. He's too good, man. He's too good in this tournament. But we were talking about it backstage between the games. Honestly, it wasn't just a Yone diff in game number 1. It's not like you can just look at it and say, yeah, they lost because Yone. MDK just played better start to finish.
Exactly. I do think Yone can't be left open, but at the same time, MDK just played the map so incredibly well. I thought they played through sides, especially really, really well. Setting up for Supa, who was playing through mid lane. He'd rotate to a side. They'd land Nautilus CC or Maokai CC. Ziggs ult comes in, free kill, or forcing summoners, forcing cooldowns, gaining yourselves objectives, slowly pushing the game forward and forward and forward until GAM felt they had no choice but to force a fight, which MDK outplay in. They win that fight, game over.
But it's such a different look from MDK, because traditionally you'd be like, oh, we're looking for skirmishes, we're looking for fights, we're going to try and play that style, but
Yone
instead they just play for these sidelines. It's great, but Yone open and immediately he was going to take that.
It keeps happening.
I think it's really shocking.
It's one
of those things that
下一手直接锁一手中单狐狸。
People are being able to have answers to it, right? And there is a little bit of a trade this time, at least, because Rumble is open. So those are two of the most successful champs so far here at Worlds, it feels like. But if Yone is to win, the MDK fans definitely not going to be happy if this goes through.
All right, so let's just go ahead, track our bans. Since Yone did get through, it is the Skarner, Nidalee, and Ziggs banned out by GAM, Poppy, Aurora, Shyvana banned out by MDK.
But that's the thing, with Ziggs now gone, you've gotten, unless you want to go for a Kai'Sa pick here, I was going to say there's very little AP options, and it is going to actually just be the Kennen that they're going to go for in that top side. So at least facilitating that. Curious now to see how much damage this is going to do and how many exhausts we have in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I was just literally about to say, exhaust is so incredibly important here, I think, against the Kennen. It's the easiest to exhaust the ultimate, feels like, in the entire game. Most required.
很难。
So, once again, similar to game number 1, I am seeing 3 mega dive champions for GAM in the first half.
又是大头阵容哎，兄弟们。
We got Vi Ahri on the other side. That's all about zeroing out these
好吧，
champions. And the question
我就不信他还能坑我。
is a good enough target for that? And if not, then I was gonna say.
不是，这起手小圆怎么直接蹦到30.5球？
I think banning out Ezreal, that's kind of the #1 safest AD you can play. You want someone that you can jump on. You really want easy love on like Ashe or Jhin if you can force them into those kind of situations where you can just get freebie kills over and over and over. Vial, Equalizer, Ariel, dead.
I'm still mostly looking. If GAM wants to do this super dive type of composition, I want to see it be fully coherent compared to game number 1, where the Smolder just felt like, I forgot that Smolder was in the game, So I want to see how this draft gets rounded out for them, and also what MDK is going to do to continue to work with this Vi and this Ahri, this pick potential here. We do have the Ashe and the Ezreal banned out. Kalista also banned out. It's 3 for 3 marksman bans in the second half of the draft.
Yeah, I think it now comes down to, do MDK just want to try and take the Kai'Sa? Because I agree with Azael, where I think Ashe is kind of something you want the enemy side to take. Okay, they're not going to. I think Kai'Sa, though, kind of has a lot of the options to facilitate that dive. Can also, like, say, the Kennen gets good access to the backline to go, but he doesn't want to go back.
选侠的话 ，MDK 这阵容手就有点短，要一起跟着往进冲。 接 M 你敢拿女枪，我不信，好吧？我不信你敢拿女枪。 还真拿。
All the primo supports are really still available. So to me, I think Aurel would be the #1 pick. I would be wanting to go here.
The only thing I was going to say is maybe you take Leona to deny the solar flare from entering the MF ult, but they're going to go for the Rel instead. So maybe Alvaro wants to go towards his Alistar, which was banned away in the last game, but I think Leona could facilitate that. But Rakan, Xayah works out beautifully.
Exactly. They were built to be played together, and that's what MDK is going to go for here. Xayah having a lot of potential to get away from the dive that comes in from GAM. Yone's fate sealed. You see the rectangle, you have enough time to respond. Kennen, he has to get 3 stacks for the stun. You have enough time to respond. Rel falls slower than molasses. You better be able to press R before you get crashed down upon. I feel like Supa should have plenty of outplay potential against this engage from GAM.
I think as well, it's just MDK are all going to be playing at different parts of this fight, right? You've got a Vi and an Ahri that are diving the back.
阵容大概
to help facilitate that. Then you've got the peel that can come through from Alvaro and also
73码 ，MDK 7
So it feels very
，GM 3，GM 3的原因是他这个阵容其实本身没什么问题，但是他实力上把看上了，他实力不支撑拿这么梦幻团战阵容，好吧？有可能打不出来。
And Alvaro, with about 2 seconds left before the game launch, swapped to exhaust. I was actually getting pretty nervous that they were going to have no exhaust. So I don't know if he was thinking about it just chatting or just forgot and then last second remembered. But yeah, he had literally 1 to 2 seconds and barely got the exhaust swapped over in time.
Very, very important to have that summoner spell against the Kennen man. All right, let's get into it. Game number 2 in this elimination best of 3. MDK made that first one look easy, and GAM has got to find an answer here in game number 2. Otherwise, man, they're going home. Their world's run is over.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you definitely want to at least be able to get 1 win in the Swiss stage here. You really want to be able to show up, show what you've got. I do think their comp is more cohesive this time than it was last time around. And we're going to have to see if they're going to be able to execute, because MDK just looked like they were on a different level in game number 1.
And that's for GAM as well. I think you want to show up, because GAM in the last couple of years has always been a team that has suddenly found these big upset wins. Like you think of Top Esports 2022, Fnatic last year, that really threw a wrench into the works for so many of these big teams from major regions. But after looking at that last game, as you say, it feels tough for GAM to kind of wipe that slate clean and now come back out onto the Rift once more.
We are in a pause. I'm sorry, everybody. We will let you know as soon as we have more information, currently figuring out exactly what has gone wrong, why we are paused. Hopefully, we will be able to jump into the game here very, very soon, because I want to see really how GAM is going to adapt to this. The previous game, I think that every LEC fan that I talked to before this series today was definitely nervous for MDK, right? MDK has not been a team, has not been an organization that in the past has been one that fans have a ton of confidence in at Worlds, but that last game was clean. It was effective. It was methodical.
Absolutely. So what is happening is we have a delay because one of the players is saying that their rune did not change. So now what has to be investigated is, was it actually, a bug with the game, which is then prompting a restart? Or is it a player issue where they didn't actually swap it over, or, did it too late and that kind of thing? So they have, basically recording shadow play where they can watch back and see exactly what happened, what the clicks were, everything like that. And we will give you the updates as soon as we do have them. Kind of curious what rune it actually is.
That's what I was going to ask. Is do we? Well, hold on.
I wonder if it's like.
Because everything kind of seems. So
everything seems
we have
normal. Like maybe comment
the game on a screen here for everyone.
Kiaya.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's possible Emo wanted to swap over to Grasp as well. We're seeing that some, but who knows, right? Either way, we will give you that info when we do get it. But for now, it is just a waiting game until we get this figured out. But MDK obviously going to be coming in, I think, with a lot of confidence here at this point in the game.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think for MDK, I kind of want to see them go back to what just worked for them, right? Playing through strong fundamentals on side lanes, making sure that they're all fine. And I think they can try and leverage something similar, but I'm also wondering if it is going to be a potential lane swap. Not so much because I think it's good for a particular, 2v2 or the top lane matchup. It just seems to me like GAM aren't as practiced in those, and I think maybe you just want to say, hey, we can come off of these early leads thanks to that.
It's interesting because I definitely agree that GAM in some of the previous games looked pretty out of sorts, but in the last game, did you think that MDK got much of an advantage? Because I felt like GAM actually kind of came out ahead.
Yeah, I think the the Ziggs getting that early lead was the big one for me, because even though we saw the top lane matchup get that early, like 300 gold, it was answered on the bottom side with the Ziggs being able to pick up all that early CS and with the TP as well. So I am curious if it is going to make a difference, but to me, it felt like the Ziggs having that early lead just set up MDK so well to play through Supa, play through Alvaro as well, because Supa's doing well.
For sure.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's where, for me, I'd start to look and say, hey, if we can just go back towards that, we can play through this strong bot lane, play through jungle support, and look to take over the game once more.
And it's also kind of reminiscent to how I feel like MDK were playing in play-ins, where, to be honest, it was all about Supa, right? They were doing these lane swaps, they were playing things like Jinx, and they were just trying to funnel as much gold as possible. Anytime there's a stacked wave, Supa, here you go. Anytime there's a plate to get, all right, everyone back off, give them solo gold. They were really funneling a lot of gold into him, and they clearly had a ton of faith that he could get them across the finish line. And in the play-ins, he absolutely was able to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's when MDK have looked their best, is when they're able to funnel resources to the bot lane, not only because Supa can do a lot of work with those resources, it is really, for me, about unlocking Elyoya and Alvaro to move around the map better together, because these two, as a unit, are the most devastating part, when, especially Elyoya is on something that can be a bit more of a playmaker, or even a bit of a carry like Elyoya, or sorry, the Vi. You're just in such a good spot then to aggressively invade, look for picks, look for plays, but the side lane control for MDK was very surprising me, just because it's not a style we've seen them go for.
And if MDK are winning games through playing through their bottom lane, right, having Supa be the carry, I think when you look over a game, it's a very different story. Azale, you already touched on it a little bit back before game number one. Yaya has been kind of a standout performer here for GAM. He's been a very effective, very powerful top laner. However, in the previous game, I think the draft did him no favors, being the one who wasn't diving with the rest of the dive comp. He got completely shut down. The lane swap also did him no favors, and it just felt like the most effective piece on the board for GAM was removed right out the gate.
So there was no bug, in fact, and I did get confirmation. This is kind of what I thought it was, is that Kiyaya's Comet was not the intended rune, so he probably wanted to go Airy. Obviously, you know, generally you play Comet if you have some sort of slow on your ability attached with it to be able to hit confirm that. So, you know, not sure how valuable it's going to be. So he is down that Airy, excuse me. Might be a little bit frustrating for him going into game number 2.
They're down the Ahri as well, because
they are down in the Ahri and in the Airy.
Yeah. All right, wise guy. All right.
Okay. You win one game and you think you get tough over here.
This is all I'm here for. I'm back. I'm chilling. I've already got a pina colada in hand. I'm ready to go.
All right. Confident. I respect it.
Look, I'm going to let my nerves kind of settle now, and then I'll let you guys kick it up for the next series. All right?
Yeah.
All right, players are typing their R's in the chat, so we are about to jump back in. Reminder for those of y'all who might just now be joining us, it does mean that Kiaya has to play with a rune because it was player error, not a mechanical error on the client. So GAM are going to have to run it with Comet Kennen. If Kennen manages to kill somebody with a Comet this game, we're going to make note of it. All right.
I mean, it's probably going to hit when you ult, right? So
it better hit when you ult.
Something's going to hit.
It better hit when you ult. If it can't hit when you ult, it can't hit. All right, let's do it. GAM fighting for their tournament lives. If MDK win this, they will get to stay in Berlin at Worlds 2024. GAM will be going home. If GAM win it, hey, we're going to game 3. The battle will get bloodier. This time, Emo on the Yone. This champion now at, what, 14-3 throughout Worlds, including play-ins, I believe?
Not bad.
It is very, very powerful.
I
believe the crowd has a favorite here in the studio.
No surprises.
You can see Frescowi going very.
里外的猴子，我是万万不敢再相信。
He's also going Scorch, so you know, really trying to play for that 1v1. We've been seeing a lot of this.
MDK 减6.5在想这个东西。
Very strong rune as far as the laning, and I do think it can be underrated how much extra HP you can stack. Obviously, it's not a massive amount, but throughout the course of the game, especially when you're playing against burst-heavy comps, sometimes that little bit of extra HP that you've stacked over the course of 20 minutes can be the difference between, you know, Ahri ulting out to safety or getting burst down before you can react.
Especially with the nerves of fleet footwork, it just works out nicely to have that extra little bit of sustaining the lane as well. But we'll have to see exactly what the game plan is going to be here for MDK, as at the moment, it's just standard lanes.
Yeah, it's a much calmer level 1 than what we saw in the previous game, right? Last time around, we're seeing MDK grouping up, looking to invade enemy jungle, getting ready for a lane swap. This time around, everything is stock standard, exactly what you would expect. Both junglers beginning on the top half of the map, Vi at her red, Wukong at his blue. So we'll see where they want to get involved first.
Yeah, so far pretty calm stuff. I don't think that there's going to be any like massive advantages created in the early laning phases. And I think both junglers are pretty happy to be farming pretty heavily. You know, if there's one to make a move, it's likely to be Elyoya pre-6, or Levi. You know, he's almost always one of these guys who really does prioritize.
对线这把应该是没什么太大的事情。
rather than in the early game.
两队的阵容6级前都没啥大节奏，威也不好抓人，猴子也不好抓人。 猴子只能抓上，但他从上往下刷了，没法抓。前面比较对延期就刷呗，总不可能出现对线单杀吧？
Mirwin then may have an idea that could be one there, as Elyoya potentially going to sneak around here on mid lane.
哇，魏的节奏真好啊！我天。
Flashing now, Vault Breaker collides. There's your charm. There's your Orbit Deception. There's your first blood for MDK.
A nice job from Elyoya and
魏2把这打野完爆李拜。 李外在 LUM 面前就跟那小学生一样。哎，不是吧？对位击杀也要玩吗？ LUM 有闪，死不掉。 哇！对位击杀，秦王绕柱，对位的击杀，漂亮。
Elio chasing after him. Levi is here. Surely Supa dies on this one. I don't really know why you would use the barrier there. Feels like just a waste of a summoner spell when you're guaranteed to die. Ends up being a 1-for-1.
But still, at the end of the day, good things here for MDK, especially where the kills are going. Again, they have a kill on the Ahri, a kill from this spot. Can be feeling really happy about that. And that early gank in mid lane was just so well played by Elyoya. Walks in, applies the red buff slow, forces out the flash, then has the Q there. And then you are a slow Dione trying to dodge this Q charge from pretty close. So good stuff from Elyoya early. He was definitely the one that could make an early play. Levi, though, I think had a good response as well, pushing him out of the jungle. He's created a farm advantage. He picked up a kill. So you can see the gold edge is there for Levi, and it's going to put more pressure on him to make sure that he is showing up big time in these 5v5s and getting things done. Whereas Elyoya, you can kind of sit back a little bit more and hopefully depend upon those carries who you've set up for success.
I mean, when we think about Levi as a player historically, when we think about GAM as an org historically, I feel like the greatest moment for this team, if you remember back to like the 2017 era, the power farm Nocturne level 6 ganking the level 3 bottom lane. This guy has been a carry jungler, feels like forever, and that's what you want to see him on if you want to see GAM be able to take this to a game 3 here, off to a start with a nearly 400 gold lead, getting that first kill for his team. I feel like that's a great spot for GAM to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the gold overall slightly favored here towards MDK, but more of these minions obviously here to collect for the GAM bottom lane, so they're going to be collecting that wave. There's a wave pushing in as well in mid lane for Emo, so all things considered, we are very, very close here. And MDK not running away with it in the same way that they seem to very quickly kind of in that last one.
Yeah, I think the main focus we're going to see now is as solo laners take over to level 6, things like the Void Grubs. Elyoya is down on this bottom side, and at least in LEC we did see a shift from Voids to Dragons, but play boss.
Levi.
Yeah, Levi's ready to join this 2v2, make it an unfair fight. Supa trying to get back away. Nice use of the feathers there for the root. Now Elyoya ready for the counter punch. MDK got to be careful about this one. Alvaro jumping right back in, but a nice couple of punches nearly takes out Easy Love.
Another root.
Elyoya grabbing the kill on that one, but Supa also drops. 80 carry for 80 carry so far. Elyoya continuing the scrap with Levi. Nice vault breaker as Levi's got to try to stay alive. He hits level 6. He goes back in for the cyclone. You got to be kidding me! Levi makes it a jungler for jungler trade as well. Now both supports the only two left. The bottom lane
用6分钟7个头。
So much worse for MDK, but Supa had 2 brilliant blade callers. He rooted Levi twice in that series of play, slowing him down from getting the initial kill, buying a lot of time for Elyoya to arrive, and then again on the chase down finds him once more with that root, which bought a lot of time for them on the other side. So very scrappy stuff on that bot lane. Levi hitting 6 helps it from being, an unmitigated disaster down there, but still pretty even trade overall.
7 kills in 7 minutes. I feel like this is a lot more of what people were expecting coming into the series.
That real League of Legends.
Yeah, that real bloody
League of Legends.
Scrappy bar fight League of Legends was what a lot of fans were expecting coming into this one. And it feels like Game 2 is delivering. Alvaro still at only 200 HP down here, is recalling, but he's on top of a ward. Meanwhile, Elyoya clearing out the Scuttle Crab at the top side. River, the Grubs are live.
Yeah, they're trying to see if they can go over towards them, but Levi now trying to move in. He doesn't have that ultimate available. Elyoya only just hit 6. Might need to get out, though.
Yeah, Elyoya was sitting on top of a ward and didn't know it. Elio messing up the crash down there, so not going to find any sort of engage onto the MDK jungle.
And this is a great read from GAM. Because Alvaro's stuck on that ward, they're just like, hey, look, we have a numbers advantage. Elio's able to get out onto the map first, and we can make the play. Now covering mid once more.
Emo has to snap on back. Lost half HP there, going in after Frescowi with the soul unbound.
Yeah, it was really nice charm bear from Frescowi, and now that loss in mid lane, plus Alvaro arriving, plus Mirwin.
MDK 阵容。
MDK grabbing the rest of the grubs here.
等吧，等一件套。
Snuck away there by Levi, so he'll get that gold, he'll get that bonus XP.
让昂博这把是水银血。
Trying to maintain that advantage, trying to get to a really fast one-item spike here, where Wukong can really run these 5v5s. I do think that is really the strongest point in the game, I feel like, for Wukong jungle. When you get that really fast one item, you can be such a difference maker in these 5v5s.
Easy Love using the ulti there to clear out some of the wave, but not all of it. Not entirely sure.
I think he was hoping to clean it out, so then there wasn't any pressure of maybe Alvaro going underneath the tower with exhaust and charm, and then Supa even being able to reset tower aggro with his own ultimate, but just with the pressure coming through from Supa meant he couldn't fully clear it out. But now Elio's joining him in the bottom side. You need to be careful of Elyoya on this top end.
Both junglers are here. They engage first on Mirwin, who flashes away from the first cast of the Cyclone. Kiaya having already used the slicing Maelstrom. Mirwin's going to survive. It cost his flash, and you can see on the summoner spell cooldowns on the right side of the screen, he has just teleported back into the lane, so he's not in a great spot.
Exactly, he TP'd it back up there for the grubs, but the other side of it is it's both ultimates used from GAM. So Elyoya can go right now and look for a fight. He still has his ultimate, whereas the Cyclone was used by Levi. So if there is a 2v2 elsewhere, in the short term, it really does favor MDK.
Especially something like a dragon. As you get this push down to the bottom side, Frescowi goes back mid, he should have pushed there. And I think you can see Elyoya may stop off his blue buff, but I imagine it's going to be Dragon that they're really going to focus down over the next couple of seconds.
And it's actually so big, right? Because, Emo looking for a fight here. Should disengage, but, I talked about that one item spike. Sundered Sky now done for Levi. He is really strong right now, but without Cyclone, you aren't really going to want to try to take that fight over by the Dragon. And the cooldown on this rank 1 ultimate is quite long, so still has, about a minute or so left on it.
And you've already talked about how this is the big power spike. This is one of the strongest spots, if not the strongest spot in the game for Wukong. But the thing is, I think it's even more important in this game because he's all 3 of the kills. All of the extra money earned for GAM is on this jungler. At that point, you don't have an opportunity to make a play. You have a responsibility to make a play and put that money to good use. His free boots have also kicked in because of the kills knocking the timer down. He is at a great spot, and GAM needs him to get something done.
It's just so hard as actually Mirwin getting some good damage here. Kiaya going to be forced right the way back. Ultimates weren't quite available, but at least given a few warnings.
时间开到33。
We'll lose it in a
这把小红节奏好慢。
Still keeping eyes on this Dragon because MDK don't look like they feel very confident to go for any sort of play, and Levi 8 seconds left on that ultimate. This could be a game changer.
Oh, a TP's also going to come in from MDK. Immediately the engage, but the counterattack coming in from Elio with a Magnet Storm into the crash down. The clone takes most of the damage as Levi tries to get himself back away over the wall here with the blast cone. Keep your eyes on Easy Love. Bullet time flies out, but it doesn't find a whole lot for Scowy getting the kill on Elio. But now Elyoya's down to 200 HP. Levi grabbing the kill on Elyoya. Easy Love's going to drop next. A double kill back to Frescowi. MDK.
GM 还是不可信任，就绝对不值得信任。这波他们决策还是有问题。第一时间，他们完全不知道自己的伤害有多少伤害。 不过其实也无所谓，今天打完这把打完，他们就回家。
But Easy Love doesn't really have any access here, and as they start to move forward, it's this hop over the wall that really spells disaster for GAM.
Exactly, and it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. The team that actually starts the fight gets such an advantage.
帮他们查一下航班吧。
Finds that proper setup. He doesn't have a good angle to get an effective ultimate. I mean, he got a couple ticks on Alvaro, and then you force out the ultimate from Supa, but it's not really that much, and ends up going down without using his flash there, which gives that extra kill over to MDK. And even more kills going the way of Frescowi was in a great
还没有直飞的航班，他们还挺麻烦的。
on the Ahri. Sure, it's good that Wukong is strong.
没有直飞的航班。
Wukong isn't going to carry you through the late game.
And these timings aren't working out for Levi either. Like, you're just looking at 8 seconds now until Void Grubs are up, and that long timer on the ultimate isn't back available, whereas Ayoya is just a couple seconds away. So I think this is where, again, with MDK having that push in top, it's so difficult for a GAM to really contest this.
I mean, just look at all the ultimates, right? You're missing Bullet Time, you're missing Fate is Sealed, you're missing a lot of these key ultis here over on the GAM side, so they would like to try to delay MDK, but I don't think that the Lions are going to give them the time. They're just going to start this up right now.
Easily done for them. Remember, they only need to get 2 of these, and they will have Void Might spawns. First one already secured. Smite still available for Elyoya. Levi and the rest of GAM now stepping up. Levi wants to try to steal one of them away, but you already got 4 grubs now for MDK. Alvaro finding the knock-up, immediately followed by the charm. A lot of damage for MDK onto the support, but a beautiful bullet time. Emo grabbing the kill on Supa. That's another one traded back, though, onto Elio. Slicing Maelstrom in the middle of everybody. Elyoya about to die, will not get enough damage back into the cannon as Frescowi has to get away towards the tier 1 turret. MDK lose 2. GAM comes out on top in the fight.
Yeah, nicely done there by GAM, actually focusing down Supa, who did not have his ultimate during the fight. That was the one key ultimate that was still missing from that bot lane fight. So we talked a lot about the missing ones there on the GAM side.
MDK 上就等安博装备，等安博一个大帽子。
before he can get out, and that really was the difference maker here.
Yeah, they turn on towards the Rel, think they have a chance, but the knock-up, and then Supa not flashing from this follow-up as well from Emo means that he ends up falling. The bullet time buying a ton of space, and Kiaya coming in on the side just managed to CC enough of the MDK players that they can turn on towards Elyoya as well.
Plus, no exhaust was actually available there. They used the exhaust earlier on, so didn't have it for that cannon, and it's a big fight there for GAM. It does a lot to boost their hopes, to boost their chances here as Herald is up, and it looks like it will be going the way of GAM. So it is the 4 grubs obviously on the side of MDK, but you got 2 grubs over for them, and they should be able to grab the Herald.
Yeah, MDK a little bit late to this, but you can see on the face of the GAM coaching staff how stressful it is. This game could be their last one at the world stage, but yeah, at least you're denying it though in the grand scheme of things, because the push is not there in the lane. So honestly, a bit of a win for GAM.
Emo getting away from another attempt of the Vi Ahri combo. One thing that I do want to point out here, unless this turns into a fight, we saw the total turret plates taken up in the top. It was 1 and 3 this time around. Last game it was 5 and 8. This game has been so much PvP, there hasn't been time for objectives. There hasn't been time for lanes and plates. It's just champs, champs, champs.
Yep. And we saw the Eye of the Herald there did expire, so no one from GAM was able to actually sneak over and pick it up, unfortunately for them. And you can see in the MasterCard lane economy snapshot that it's kind of Levi versus the world. Everyone else on the other side does have that slight gold advantage. So very close to
1.7， 索盘应该打上。这个 GM 的经济由1400领先是在猴子身上，跟里外啥表现，上一把也都看着，绝对不值得信任。 但很容易送，你知道吧？
Easy Love gone.
Yeah, there. Easy Love tried to flash away from it, but he's already dead before the TP can arrive and try to save him. Elyoya wants to vault break back up the wall, I would think. Jumps back into the tri-brush where Alvaro is waiting to protect him. Meanwhile, Supa just given free firing time onto the turret. They'll take this tier 1 while Levi secures the Drake.
I mean, credit to Easy Love for realizing that they were there.
这女枪是有点废。
Standing there the second time, it cost his team the TP. Levi looking for the 1v1 against Mirwin, won't be able to kill him, so it means that even more gold is actually going to go to Levi.
米人哥还让嘲讽，看
You lose the tower anyway, you lose barrier flash on MF and die. So
made
a good play, but followed it up with a much worse one that MDK were able to punish and create a
分天阳光一件套，现在 MDK 开始强势了。 MDK 现在进入他强势期，好吧？等到他强势期我还说。
Is very close to that Leandri's as well. He's going to be such a threat when you look for these pick plays with the Yoya and with Alvaro.
And when you're trading those tier 1 turrets away for a Drake, it feels way worse when it's first Drake at 16 minutes into the game. That stack is not going to pay off for a long time. Last game we mentioned down payments, we mentioned investments. You're not cashing in on this thing until you're a senior citizen, boys. This is going to be a long way off.
Well, in League of Legends years, we're all getting there anyways.
Oh, come on. We don't need the harsh bite of reality here today, Tactic. Come on. We're just trying to enjoy some video games. All right. So we got
水炼金，这样龙魂挺好了，风龙魂也好，最没用的2条小龙全部给刷掉，火土龙没啥用，土没啥用。
Have Elio creating that chaos with Levi and Kiaya, building space for Easy Love to get a good follow-up ultimate. It's really all about the engages. Their comp is built to 5v5.
And I'd love to see them trying to get some sort of vision on towards the enemy side of the map as well, because Emo on like a flank TP or even Kiaya in that position as well could be so crucial. But a lot of the times what we're seeing is they're so focused on trying to get the lane in order as MDK go for counterplay that they're not getting that vision on a cross map or something set up there. So I think there's a little bit of worry for GAM as Kiaya once more the focus.
对吧？下一波大节奏，我感觉应该不是小龙，是中一塔。两边这把人头开这么大的原因就是两边都不太好拆塔。啥是 AD 里面？我感觉推进节奏后明吧，后明的 ADC。啥的比赛很容易出大头，你真难推进。你就直接死吧，就没有什么抢救空间。
For Levi out of the 7 total on GAM, the Wukong continues to pile up the money.
And this ultimate from the MF being used in the wave every time is kind of denying MDK their answer on the map. You can see Yoya was trying to move into position to look for a potential dive, but now the wave is gone. They'd already shoved in that bot side, so there's nothing they can do.
如果现在是6个人头 ，GM 的6个人头，3个给凯南，3个给永恩，里外身上是7个助攻。那我觉得 GM 这把是有机会的，但里外猴子说实话，第一是这个英雄没什么容错率，第二是这个人没什么容错率。
Anywhere close to Seoul, there's no sort of like big threat on the horizon. So I think both teams can really think through what fights they want to take.
And I think it's for a team like GAM, when your entire tournament lives could be on this game, having that little second or two to think or get a bit of breathing room is so important. Getting that little bit of extra gold, and you can see the win probability powered by AWS, how close this game is right now. And I do think Levi just having one ultimate could be the difference maker to take down MDK, but a good fight where you're able to set up for Supa, where Frescowi can get access to Easy Love, I think that could be a disaster for GAM.
Hold on now, Alvaro might be in a little danger here. There's your Magnet Storm with Levi following up with the Cyclone, but he's already been exhausted, so we won't find a ton of damage here at the very start. Alvaro barely staying alive. The exhaust kept him breathing, but now Mirwin's got to try to get away. Fate sealed right through the uprights. Not going to find anything with that one. Kiaya misses everything as well. GAM threw it all down.
哇，这个大招！
MDK might have a chance to hit back. Frescowi throws out the
但蓝宝的大绝在放什么？
MDK get away.
但是他其实就算放的好的话，他们也没有反打的机会，搞不好还是送一波的。
Oh, he's feeling good. Levi, remember, has no Cyclone. MDK knows that GAM spent most of their resources trying to make that collapse.
Yeah, but I mean, with the exhaust being forced out by Levi, you would think, hey, you're setting up for a really good fight for Kiaya and Emo, but they completely whiff with all of their ultis there, and it's right before a Dragon. You didn't even really need to try to force the play. When there's no exhaust on Alvaro, just try to look for a proper setup, maybe wrap around the bot side, play through mid, and look for that kind of pincer play on MDK as they go for the Dragon, and you could have really set yourselves up for success here, but just getting a little bit over-eager, saying, hey, maybe we can find a play right now. You throw everything out. Nothing hits, it means another objective here for MDK.
And you can see the stress that they're under as they just try desperately to get anything, even that engage, the flash from Elio, and then the follow-up from Levi. So much used to try and set things up, but MDK are just calmer in it. There's no, well, they are getting caught out on some overextensions, but when it happens, they look way more calm on the execution, and it's playing out well for them.
I mean, it's a good point. You just compare the summoner spells, right? There's multiple additional flashes here still available for MDK. Obviously, Yoya, Alvaro still have their flashes available here. And Supa just hit the IEs, had kind of a more quiet game on the Xayah, but you're now on Essence Reaver IE. You're on a really strong 2 items at this point. Obviously, a while ago, Frescowy completed his second item, and he's working towards that Void Staff now. So MDK have their carries in a fantastic spot.
I do think, though, the fact that GAM have been so clean in dealing with all these pressure points from MDK, though, at least, you know, last play taken out of it, means that they're actually in an okay spot. Like, the towers aren't crumbling all around them. In fact, GAM are actually going to go up in towers off this play. They've been able to hold on to mid, and the pick plays playing off of this Ahri haven't really worked out. So, at the moment, like, you look at the go to the top of your screen, it is dead even, playing mid.
Well, it might not be dead even after this. Supa pops the ulti, tries to get away, but Easy Love has his number. Elyoya, now the target. GAM picking up a nice kill there. This game is less than 500 gold apart, tied 8-8 in kills. Game 1 was over at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it is dead, but it's not even for Supa. So he's going to go down there. They do find the pick. And again, that's both summoners down. You know, sometimes you just have to kind of take the loss when you realize you get caught out there because that's so punishing. It's all about the next play now. As equalizer are going to be dropped to just try to clear this one out.
Oh, but the dive is coming in from GAM. The bullet time over the top of the slicing Maelstrom. They're going to find 2 more kills on Alvaro and Elyoya. Frescowy and Mirwin trying to get something back, and that something will be Elio. So they at least get a little bit of a trade in return, but GAM are bloodthirsty.
Frescowy was trying to make his way up from bot side, but GAM ended up getting that dive off immediately before he gets there, and it is a great execution. Elio hanging over the wall, Alvaro just getting caught underneath this with a great...
不是这个兰博怎么回事？兰博每回大招都让瞎放。
The only downside is they didn't get that tower, but GAM definitely still fighting in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, Alvaro didn't even get to move. It was great CC, really perfectly timed and layered. You know, not a lot of overlap. They're able to get everything down there. Again, I still do have concerns for GAM just because of where the gold is. You know, junglers generally can't carry those later stages fights. You know, at this point in the game, when the carries are getting towards 3 items, junglers generally start to fall off. You become more about the utility, the initial engage, but then the follow-up has to be there from your team.
让兰博米人玩的也有问题啊。
See Easy Love Emo showing up in these fights, being able to get something done here. There is a pretty big farm advantage for Emo though, so despite all the kills on Ahri, the gold is very close, and it'll come down to execution.
All right, our next Drake is 2 minutes away. We'll see if we have another fight randomly before it instead of at it. I'm not quite sure. These teams just really just want to go out there and hit each other.
But that's the thing, compare this game to the last one, right? Where we're praising MDK for how well they played at the map, but MDK this game just haven't really quite been able to find that same success, and it hasn't been like Alvaro and Elyoya being able to move off to a side, try and play around Frescowy, who's really strong at the moment. Instead, they're just butting heads continuously and not really getting anywhere.
Well, I think one of the things that MDK played so well with last game was the Ziggs, which was banned out this game, right? You know, it really enabled them to get out towards the side lane. Super controlled mid, was able to make these half rotations out, and then assist his team in getting picks in the sides. And I think that's really how MDK kind of choked GAM out of this game through that side lane domination, really utilizing the Ziggs beautifully. And this time, it is a little bit harder because you're more built just purely for the 5v5. You're not going to win a game through sides, you know, with Ahri Rumble, and we'll see if they can find a pick here.
Oh, Emo wants to get all the way away with a fate sealed, but immediately the Vi jumps in. Meanwhile, down to the bottom lane, Mirwan's about to be
米人被单杀。这兰博果然玩的是有问题。
This is kind of what I wanted to see from MDK though, which was, hey, you may not like win out through just side lane pressure, but you can definitely find picks and open up opportunities.
这种队伍啊，怎么总能找到战犯呢？
That's really Where the problem is, because now GAM still get to play on the map. Levi gets the force super off of mid-wave, and suddenly that pick, that kill that could have opened something up is just completely gone.
And especially because MDK committed 3 members to kill off the Yone, where it's just a straight solo.
就弱队跟强队的区别，强队是在绝境中总有人能站出来，弱队是不管什么局势下，也绝对会有人站出来。
But it is looking like another potential fight here around the Dragons. We have to take note of the ultimates of the summoners available, and it's looking like for the most part, almost everything is.
比如上把的里外，比如这把的米人。
I am curious though how MDK decide to play this, because the mid lane turret being up has given them so much struggle this.
总有战犯，这谁受得了？
Relieve yourself of mid lane for GAM. I think MDK just pile onto that mid lane turret and try and look for it, just to try and open up the map, even if it does cost them a second Cloud Drake. I think it's worth for MDK. Whereas for GAM, I think this is nice, threatening Baron, so it makes it very difficult for MDK to set up everything that they want on this play.
I mean, talking about turrets, it's not just mid lane. MDK have only claimed a single turret so far this game. Makes it very difficult to play the map when there's still all of these obnoxious checkpoints for your opponents to play around and retreat back towards, as GAM not being too eager to make anything crazy happen just yet. The 1v1 in the bottom lane continues between Kiaya and Fresskowy, both of which have their Unleashed teleports ready to go, and both of which are level 16 with flashes also available. Immediately, Alvaro getting jumped on, but he tries to turn back around. A nice engage here with a quickness, and Levi's the first to die. Jam's in a bad spot as Fresskowy makes his entry into the fight, and now they're going in, trying to find the last little bit of damage onto Easy Love, but it ain't gonna work. Yoya's already dead, and Elio's grabbing the kill. GAM doing a good job fighting back after losing their jungler. They actually come out on top.
猴子人头是谁拿的？这要看一下，猴子人头很关键。
Nice fight though from Fresskowy. He saved that fight, getting in the back line, landing the charm on Easy Love, pushing him out, and Emo even turned around, tried to land the Fated Seal. That was a whiff. So MDK, yes, they do lose the extra man on the fight, but they win out in the HP. They push back GAM. They take the mid tier 1. So things still continue. We are 28 minutes in. It is basically dead even. It's 100 gold, 200 gold between the two teams.
Yeah, it's been neck and neck this whole time, and the fact that Levi ends up falling down at the start of this fight is crucial, but there you go. Yeah, Fresskowy interrupting the bullet time that was doing so much work. Emo trying to go back to peel off of Fresskowy, but they're still getting good damage done. But as you said, Azael, it's the health bar advantage on the back of this with Super pushing people away. That sets up for the mid lane tower take.
And it feels like we're just seeing so many missed ults from Emo. I feel like, you know, if you're having trouble hitting them, you need to play off CC from your team. The Cannon ult is going to set up CC. You have Rel to set up CC. You have the Cyclone to set up CC. Like, you can use it as a follow-up. It doesn't have to be that primary engage. And often you'll even see people just use the self.
猴子现在看是慢慢走下坡路，作用不大。
above the champion portraits on either side. The average level for both teams is 14.0. So down to the decimal spot. They are in EXP. The gold was with a single percentage point, 49.5 to 40 to 50.5 or something like that. Absolutely crazy how close this game is. As MDK is looking for a potential pick. They interrupt Elio as he goes for the crash down to try to get away, but they don't want to commit any more onto the Rel.
Yeah, you can see how much control was just set up on this top side for MDK. Ward here, they placed a ward just at the back here alongside the pink, and all they were trying to do was draw GAM into this Baron area, so they already had Fresskowy in position. A TP ward available for Mirman wherever the fight went to take it, but it's only Elio's flash that's burned in the end. GAM kind of getting out of that.
Still pretty critical 1-2 burn. You know, Rel obviously a lot less effective. So easy to react to without the flash, but when you do have that flash for a Q flash to actually set up that crash down, can be very, very difficult. Elio playing with fire a little bit. MDK clearly trying to control vision in this area. Here we have a 1v1.
Yeah, Emo wants Fresskowy here. He hit that Fate Sealed, but not enough damage to finish the kill. Fresskowy gets away. Yes, he's going to lose his ultimate, but it's an ulti for ulti trade.
It is ulti for ulti trade, and I think if you can keep Fresskowy out of the fight, that's the 6-kill member here over on MDK. He has been making so much happen for them in the 5v5, so in this case, you know, maybe Emo is happy with that trade.
30分钟
Looks like we're going to get any more of a fight with the time that he bought from Fresskowy having to recall, though. You're going to see Mirwin push up the wave here in the bottom lane. He has his teleport ready to use. Still no dragon left to take for another 3.5 minutes. Still everybody playing around this top side of the river. Still everyone with eyes on Baron.
I'm also going to say, Cloud is really strong for a lot of champions this game. You get Cloud Soul, you're looking at champions like Alvaro on the Rakan, you're looking at the Kiaya on the Kennen, you're looking at champions like that, and even the Wukong is so ridiculously strong with it, so I do think it's a pretty powerful soul.
Also, I just want to point out a really interesting build from Mirwin going towards the Abyssal Mask here, but might have to hold on to the point as Ilio has no flash. MDK wants him, but they basically saying, hey, look, GAM are all going to jump in on top of us, and my ultimate's probably going to be melee ultimate anyway, so getting value for that and setting up for Frescowi, I think it's a good adaptation.
Alvaro popping the quickness. They put a little bit of damage into Elio, but they don't want to overcommit immediately, though. GAM jumps in with a fade seal. That one's going to do the trick. Mir going to be the second to die right after Alvaro. GAM's already grabbed 2. Make it 3 as Supa is caught out, beat down. Frescowi and Elyoya trying to get this away. GAM just got 3 for free.
MDK 没有。
leads the charge. Frescowi's got to try to use the Spirit Rush to get away. They'll keep on chasing him. All they got to do is keep him out. As soon as that ulti expires, it is far too dangerous for the R to go anywhere near the barrier.
今天上个线黑了2场，黑了2单，无语。
There is no contest whatsoever here. GAM gonna grab the Baron. And I love the confidence from Elio there, not just using the crash down to retreat in a situation like that, realizing his team is in a spot to reinforce. He just turns what looked like an MDK pick into one for himself, starts the team fight out. Emo is there, nails the ultimate this time around. They crush
这弱队的比赛啊，是真的他妈的搞人心态。
Yeah, big time. The fact that you managed to get so many of the kills and then the Baron off the back, but this is MDK just having no vision of what was happening in the area. Ilio goes over. MDK are like, hang on, can we look for this? But they don't realize how many members of GAM are in the area, and the second they get locked down by Ilio here, this is essentially 3v4. The follow-up is there, the ults are perfect, the front line is completely deleted, and you can look, Frescowi, no access to fight, Elyoya, no access to the fight, and GAM steamroll MDK.
Love the look into the coach's room. All right, guys, calm down. Calm down.
You can see excitement, but he's like, okay, we gotta win. We gotta win.
It ain't over until the Nexus explodes, boys.
Yeah.
GAM pushing forward towards that objective right now. Bullet time. Just getting rid of 75% of Supa's HP just like that. Tier 2 turret falls. GAM up 4,000 gold.
And you can see they're going to try to play through 2 lanes. You can see the Yone try to push up through bot, and they're kind of just moving back and forth in this bot side area, controlling vision, trying to wipe out these wards, and make sure that they can bounce between these 2 lanes to try to play for the tier 2s before they look to threaten for these other towers.
Elio with the Hex Flash over the wall, ready to pounce on anybody from MDK who might be disrespectful enough to try to defend these tier 2 turrets. It is now 5 turrets for GAM compared to the 3 of MDK. Only the tier 2 turret in top lane is left standing outside of the MDK base. Still 90 seconds of Baron gameplay left for GAM.
And 30 seconds until the 3rd dragon, so just controlling this bot side jungle is all you really need as GAM, because you can fall back towards that at any point in time. So many of their items starting to come to fruition as well. Like Kiaya having that Sonya's Hourglass makes him such a big threat. He's going to be finishing off his Crypt Bloom very soon as well. So these resets now kind of ticking over that 4th item for a lot of GAM members makes them so threatening against MDK.
And Sterix on the Wukong too. You jump in, you have that massive shield to be able to survive any counter burst that they might try to do. Guarantees almost that you're going to get the second cast of the Cyclone for the extra team fight power.
And it's amazing to see Levi again showing up on this Wukong. An 85% win rate nearly for him on this pick. It's been such a name state for him, and the fact again he controlled the early game, brought it into these team fights, setting up for so much of his team. He's kind of been the X factor the GAM have rallied around this game, and now they're really putting the hurt onto MDK.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and I mean, they created a pretty significant advantage at this point. They're a good 4,000 gold ahead, but that being said, they didn't crack the base, so we're really just kind of back to the same situation where it's going to be about playing for these objectives, playing for these team fight setups, and it is GAM now on Soul Point, so a lot more pressure on MDK to be able to get a proper setup at this next dragon. But that being said, if they do, the game is definitely not out of reach whatsoever.
5 seconds left.
有打团吗？
Elio with a quick shattering strike there onto Alvaro as MDK push into enemy territory. They want a full send.
这是什么位置啊？
Behind a beautiful trauma to Easy Love. He pops both summoner spells trying to get away and immediately fires back with a bullet time. Easy Love on a rampage. Alvaro is down. Elyoya trying to get away, but it ain't gonna work. Levi goes back over the wall to escape the equalizer, and Supa tries to stay alive. Mirwin and Frescowi can't get anything done here. Supa still trying to get the kill on Elio.
这两个队的比赛真的绝啊！我天，这什么呀？这都是。
Levi was a hero in that play. The dive had come through to try and pick off Easy Love, but the Cyclone interrupts the dive from Alvaro, denies the CC chain, and GAM rally back and beat off MDK.
冯蒂尼也是真是敢从这儿走啊！
4 kills in total for GAM. Nothing going back for MDK. They thought they saw their moment, but GAM caught them.
Yeah, they caught him there. Able to punish them big time as GAM is going to be able to push up mid lane, take the inhibitor tower as well. They finally cracked the base. It's not with the Baron. It's off of the counter engage there on this fight. We can watch it one more time. It's the early TP here coming in on the bottom side.
狐狸这肉后位置其实还行。
The QSS is available. It's a full BT shield as well on Easy Love. Plus a locket. There's so much shielding. The barrier, the BT shield, the locket, everything comes through. He gets a good position here to really chunk down Elyoya. And then on the other side of the fight, Supa is trying to make some magic happen, kiting out well, surviving through the Fate is Sealed until that Soul Unbound does expire, but realizes there's no real way out. They've lost on the other side. Mirrorwood and Frescowie have been pushed out, so there's nowhere for Supa to go except donating a kill into that tower.
And he even used the barrier to try to get the extra little bit of time for the last attack on Elio, but he could not do it. So that is both summoner spells there for the AD carry of MDK, as now they're down a lot of resources. 2 minutes to go until the soul for GAM spawns.
Exactly, and you track the flashes, so many were spent in that, but both Kiaya and Levi have their flashes available, really critical on that side. Whereas over for MDK, it's only Alvaro, so yes, he could try to make something happen with an engage, but the threat from this cannon, from this Wukong, is absolutely enormous at this point in the game.
And the big thing too, desynced spawn timers on our 2 neutral objectives. Baron spawning in 30. The Dragon going to be spawning in about 1:40. So if GAM want to go straight for the Baron, if GAM want to just try to rush this, maintain control over that, MDK will not be able to take the Dragon away as an opportunity for trade.
I think it's also the fact that Levi's now completed the Guardian's Angel makes him so much more threatening in these fights because he can just full send it and then get on towards Frescowie or change the entire aspect of a fight and still have that second life. So I think for MDK, they need some sort of miracle. And at this stage, we are hoping Frescowie would be able to get a pick, get something, but the fact that MDK haven't been able to play through that big strength in the mid lane has only just leveraged GAM being able to play through their own.
I mean, Easy Love is still sitting on brown bags, but he's got everything else fully kitted out. He is on 6 items here now, ridiculously strong. Over on the other side, though, I mean, Frescowie and Supa are no joke. Again, if you execute well in these fights, they have the 4 fully completed items. They are very, very strong. They just have to be able to perfectly execute.
But Frescowie and Elyoya are coming around for a pincer attack. MDK looking for their chance to maybe punish GAM here. GAM trying to back up as a group. Alvaro jumps in, but Elyoya's got to be careful about this. He's trying to scrap with Ione. They chunk him down by about half. But the Magnet Storm onto Elyoya. GAM sees the opportunity, kill the enemy jungler. Levi's going to keep everybody else busy. Bullet time comes through over the top. Frescowie into the back line, looking for Emo, but he ain't going to be able to find him.
狐狸是真尽力啊！
Seals his fate indeed. Kiaya keeps going forward. A nice stasis to make sure that he doesn't die. Alvaro at about 50 HP. Kiaya is down. MDK at least get that one. Supa and Alvaro both barely clinging to life, but them surviving might be the difference between the game ending and not.
Exactly, it's massive. Supa barely survives their kiting out, is able to stay alive, and that's the only thing that actually stops this game from ending. Mirwin's TPing to bot side. They want to try to contest this because they know that Levi is still low in health, wouldn't be able to actually recall.
这杀是什么意思啊？
Is in the enemy jungle here, and we'll see if Mirwin can find some sort of a miracle play, but no equalizer.
不是，这韩国 TP 有点开玩笑吧？ 你上是想要干嘛？
I think MDK were hoping, hey, look, if we get 1 or 2 picks, maybe we can turn this over towards a Baron, especially as the resets start to come through, because Elyoya back on the map, Frescowie has TP. Maybe they even still consider going for it, or at least look for a pick in the jungle, because it's very dark on this top side for GAM.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with just flipping at this point. It does get very difficult. You can see Frescowie TPing out towards top side, so they're going to get the push. They need to clear out this pink ward that is in the pit, because obviously there's no threat if that remains alive.
零换我，只要打敢碰这条男爵就零换我。
Levi still has his flash. Elyoya moving around the backside, but GAM
他们甚至楼坑里面都没有一个针眼。
Elio still here on the front, threatening MDK as he pushes forward. Emo's just going to use the Soul Unbound to clear out some of the vision. Levi stepping forward with a control ward of his own to clear that out. GAM with that Cloud Soul that you already touched on earlier, Azael, for Wukong, for Kennen.
for the Rel. It's so powerful. Frescowi now going to be caught out. Kiaya stunning him up. Fate Sealed ain't going to find the extra little bit of damage, the extra little bit of range, but it does not matter. The monkey's got a stick, and he's jumping over the wall to beat you to death with it. Frescowi dead for 50 seconds. That's barren for GAM.
MDK needs some sort of miracle, but GAM, they're turning immediately over towards the objective.
Oh, Emo immediately jumping in. The Rumble is already down. GAM has found their angle. Super with a Feather Storm finds a nice opportunity.
哎，这两个队啊，只能说真的没救。
So far behind. Emo getting the kill on Alvaro. El Yoya just going to be annoyed to death by Elio, and GAM should be able to win the game right here.
对得起他们的战绩。
You can never discount the VCS. They always come in punching well above their weight class, and now as they start to look at that base, Emo wants to tear it all down.
Emo's just standing here waiting for the minions. He went to the base first. He'll clear out the wave. Everybody else will take their victory march down mid lane. This game was dead even for 30 minutes. These teams traded blow for blow, but we are not gonna see the VCS go quietly into the night. We are not gonna see a 2-0 series. We're going to game number 3.
It's all going to come down to that final game here between GAM and MDK. The pressure really on for both teams. And the best players in the world step up in those moments. And how about this game from Levi? 9-2-13. He was smurfing. We're going to a break, and we'll be right back with game number 3.
If you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, I just feel so good, I just feel so good.
Ground, I'm on code. Run on air when I flow. You would swear that I flowed. Hottest hand in my zone. I'm going hard for my city, yeah. I put that thing on my back. Get it and gun it. I'm back on 100. I'm ready. I'm coming in for the attack. I'm on beast mode. God level, cheat code. New age, hero. Good verse, Evo. I'm on the move. I'm on the move. I'm putting in work. I go berserk, got something to prove. Cause I got power. I got the energy for all of my enemies. I'm on the way, saving the day. No one ahead of me. I'm on the right here, right now. This is the moment we running it.
think. Okay.
Guys, just think, but not think a lot.
Oh, but the dive is coming in from GAM. The bullet time over the top of the slicing Maelstrom. They're going to find 2 more kills.
Let's not talk anything, just let us.
Yes.
It's fine, okay? We know how to play.
GAM has found their angle. Super with a feather storm finds a nice opportunity. If only they weren't so far behind. And GAM should be able to win the game right here.
Guys, maybe think a little bit more.
Dude, that is the best comms listening that we've had in a while.
And then in the middle, we know how to play. And then, oh, the editor did him dirty. But it was easy to praise GAM in that video or in general, because even though it was close for a very, very long time, it's one of those where I'm always on the fence because I will say, you know, we have a lot to talk about. Let's start with the Yone.
What's the fence?
It's because I know I'm jumping forward on things you want to talk about. So let's start with the Yone update.
Yeah, please, because Yone was given over again. We knew it was going to be a big discussion topic no matter what. But this is getting to just crazy levels, 18-3.
It's crazy. Like, just the fact. So we were trying to figure out why it's been let through so often. And I had a theory that Rumble, Ziggs, Aurora were really pivotal to pair with Yone because they're safe APs, and Kennen would be a step below, and maybe that makes it less good. Nah, still good.
Oh, still great.
Good. Also, last game, it was definitely the reason MDK won. This game,
Levi was the reason that they won.
It really wasn't. It didn't feel like it was about the Yone.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Levi got a lot of very early kills, which allowed him to snowball. But whenever we're watching this team, you're always looking at Levi and Kiaya. And you mentioned the Kennen being the big AP part of any sort of, you know, Yone composition.
This is really cool, though. We didn't know what they were doing, just hitting the minions until he hit level 6 and almost turned it around.
Yeah, he told Elio.
Elio was just spamming his...
help me hit the minion so I can get level 6. And from that point, like, really, really nice snowball from them. Of course, there were some that were not on point. Some of the plays towards mid game, but some really, really big ones for them. Plus, the more standard setup also benefited them. I feel like you have to do something along the lines of lane swaps and stuff to really put both Levi and Kiaya behind early on. Anything you can do to put those two behind is going to increase your chances.
Behind, and not let him get to like, oh, was it 5 or 6-0 so quickly into the game. Also, when you talk about kind of the later game, it feels like you said, okay, Mad's probably just outscaled, but they had no way to really win the fights anymore despite having an Omega fed Ahri, chat.
Yeah, Frescowi, I think, had a good start to the game, but I'll also say they were very much a one-shot team where they would have the Vi Ahri with the Rumble, so it's pretty easy to itemize a little bit bruisery against them, and once you don't have the threshold to burst someone, you're kind of out of options.
You are. It got a bit nervy. We have one replay that we wanted to show you. This is not to like dunk on anyone in particular. I will say that MDK was getting picked off a lot, trying to make up territory.
Yeah, this is the mid lane fight, I believe, right?
Yeah,
well?
it's going to continue
so
for a while.
So MDK gets picked off, and this was more, so we're not pulling this to dunk on the teams, we're more pulling this to say, like, it's absolutely an elimination game, and you're trying to fly in and make all these big plays, and sometimes you're going to look absolutely foolish. And this is not the type of play that GAM would have made at any point this year, honestly, until this moment where they're up against elimination point. But they were able to recover after that and still continue to pull the trigger, which to me actually shows a really high level of mental fortitude. And this is interesting.
This is Frescowi getting on there first. I bet he's writing in chat like, you know, I was fed, my team did nothing. No, I'm kidding. Like, you know, when someone's in solo queue, that's what I mean. You know, when they're super fed. When they're super fed. But that was not the case, I think, in general. Okay, so now we're looking at a game 3, and we came out of game 1 thinking, okay, this is looking quite comfortable for Mad Lions Koi. They have everything figured out. Are we going to give them the same advice that we gave to GAM in terms of the Yone going forward, or are there more structural problems going on here that they have to address right now?
Yeah, I think the two biggest problems are that they have to do something about Levi and Kiaya, because these two players, regardless of draft, regardless of setup, are always such big threats on GAM, and you have to do something to neutralize that. You just saw them getting onto stage. the stark difference between MDK and GAM. GAM's getting up there all smiling. They're on a roll now. They're the ones coming off the win. I think GAM have the momentum now.
Yep.
And you're going to have to do something starting in draft, but continuing in game and in execution to put a stop to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It goes to show who the pressure's on. The pressure is so much more on MDK, and they're the ones that need to calm themselves down. And it's so much about like the expectations that you put on yourself and how you deal with those expectations. It's honestly so much of the struggle from from an LCS perspective, that's the struggle I see LCS teams have all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like MDK is kind of in a similar situation here.
Absolutely, and I think for the side of VCS, we already talked about kind of the possibly the last huzzah for the VCS in this form at Worlds, and Levi just stepping onto that rift and pulling off the shirt like Superman, saying, fine, I'll do it myself. And I think that is so poetic when you look at, you know, everything we've praised GAM and the VCS for throughout the years. Levi has been such a big part of it, so I think it is incredibly fitting that also on the other side we have Elyoya, who they're going to have to come to depend on, and to see. We believe.
Make them believe.
We believe.
Only one more. Either team here looking at this one.
That's a best of 3 for you.
So much comes down to it.
Absolutely. The tension of this series definitely reaches its peak. We're so far away from the conclusion at the start of this series, but right now we're so close.
Let me do the tossing. I'm the professional. All right, it's all on the line here for the VCS and the LEC. And yeah, who is it gonna be? Let's head over to our casters.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's time for the third and final game in this series between MDK and GAM. For one of the two, it will be their last game played at Worlds 2024. Game number 1 was a stomp. MDK looked clean. Game number 2 was also League of Legends. We got to see a lot of punches thrown every which way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, game 2 was an all-out brawl, and it felt like GAM just were more confident in that game. They were the ones starting out the fights first, getting the advantage on those setups. As a result, we are into pick and ban. I need to know, is Yone going to be open here one more time?
All right, Champion Select, powered by Omen and HyperX. Show us a Yone ban for the first time this series. Please. Will it be here?
So some key ones are going to be up regardless. I mean, Rumble not banned, Ziggs not banned, Yone not banned, you know, so some big ones, and they're leaving it open again. It's going to be another first pick, pretty much guaranteed. And
they didn't even waste time. They didn't even waste time covering.
I mean, it's just so strong. It just kind of wins every single time, man. I think it's absolutely crazy. I don't think that the series has really been about the Yone, but I just think this champ is ridiculous. But there is Aurora available. That's another one of the OPs that hasn't really been banned out, so we'll see what GAM can get as far as the trade.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be the Vi more than likely here for Levi. Just a very strong pick that now that you already got that AP option could be taken away. But we've also seen things like the Maokai with this Aurora as well, because it just offers you so much lockdown. But yeah, I think the Vi, just even taking that away from Ayoya is so nice here.
I also just don't like Levi on Maokai compared to something that has more brawling potential, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather see this. Now that is a Levi champion. I brought it up earlier. The most famous GAM moment, the most famous Levi moment from all those years ago, the Nocturne performance.
Absolutely. I mean, they just want to play dive, right? You know, you're going to be looking with this Aurora to be able to set up pick. If you have more AoE champions, more dive champions piling in, the Aurora can begin the pick, the Nocturne can fly in. And I think back to the play-in stage where we saw some monster games from Kiaya on the Aurora. Their first series that they played back-to-back Aurora games, and he was smurfing with some of the strongest Aurora games we've actually seen at the event so far.
And we're going to have to see if Miran has an answer for it, because you imagine it is still going up towards that top side. Obviously can be flexed, we've seen in the mid lane, but yeah, Rumble could just be the answer.
Rumble as your first 3 is so strong. It's weaker in the lane, so he's going to go for the stronger 1v1 matchup with the Gnar. But still, I mean, Sejuani, Yone is such a strong 2v2 pairing that I feel like there's very little way GAM are going to be able to kind of find their way in a 2v2.
Well, we're going to get to see the opposite side of the previous game's matchup. I always enjoy when we get these types of things because it really does let a guy show that he has mastery of the matchup. If you can play it both ways, if you can win it both ways. Last time around, even though they lost, Frescowie ended up having a very impressive performance on the Ahri against the Yone.
He absolutely did, but we also have to remember it was Elyoya that set him up on the Vi with that early gank. That was where they got that first kill. He got him in behind, and it's that combo that I think is so powerful. So far in the first three, there's zero setup for that charm, right? You know, the Vi plus Ahri combo is so strong because it guarantees the CC and the full combo lands.
And that's why I'm wondering if there's going to be something like a Jhin here just to try and get that slow setup for some of these plays to start happening. But I do agree. I think you're in a bit of an awkward spot here where you need something to follow up here for Elio to really get things started, especially with Rel already gone. I imagine something like the Leona or other big engage support taken off the board.
Exactly. That's what I'm expecting. Double engage ban from MDK. The Rel you already mentioned has come through first. GAM are going to ban out the Ashe first for themselves in this second half. Ezreal also going to continue to be banned away as one of those safe long-range AD carries.
And that's the thing, especially when you're trying to play dive with this Nocturne, having something that can peel for themselves is going to be a bit of a nightmare. Supa may just go back towards the Xayah in that regard, just to say, hey, look, I'm going to be safe. Open up for Alvaro to go towards the Rakan, and then you can still play for this heavy dive function with so many frontliners to provide that engaged setup for the Rakan.
Yeah, it is interesting because there's not like super easy to kill champs over on the MDK side yet, and you are very front-loaded in your damage over on the GAM team, right? Because of 3 burst champions on your top side, very low sustained DPS. So they are really overloading, I feel like, on the early game here, and just the fact that they're going to be able to dominate lanes, create advantages, but MDK could just lane swap.
Well, I was going to say, do you also try and take out of here? Potentially, like, just go, hey, look, we've already got enough dive in the top half of the map. We don't really need more, and maybe you just look for the takeaway, but not something I'd traditionally think of with the Kai'Sa, but could still work out very well in the, hey, I can just plunk that bailout on you as you shotgun yourself into the back line.
It is true, but at the same time, I don't think that there's enough melee champions to really warrant the Renata coming out, because it's like, yeah, there is a lot of dive, but it's Aurora, but it's Ahri, you know, champions that still have a little bit of range, that have quite a bit of mobility. So, you know, I don't think that it would be the best pick on their side. I actually feel like, if anything, Renata is definitely stronger for GAM, so it will be interesting to see if they go that route. Very low on setup, you have basically 0 hard engage, so I do think knowing GAM's
这边的话是梦魇算一个开团点，反手也练到塔吧。
or something along those lines. Braum is honestly kind of shocking to me.
Yeah. I think that I've seen some comps, so like if you look at Genji and stuff,
我觉得不如没有练到塔好。
with essentially what the GAM top side has been, which is, hey, I'm just going to play very heavily for a pick and poke style with this Aurora ult into the Nocturne ult, the follow-up from the Ahri as well. So I think even though you lack some engage, you can get a surprising amount done with these 3 champions on the top half of the map for GAM.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They have pretty good pick, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I just think that there's no really kind of point-and-click CC. There's no instant go button, I guess, besides just like throwing down an Aurora ult on someone. But when you're coming to later stages of the game, you know, it's not going to be that easy. I think just like walk up an Aurora ult someone, have that be the go button for the fight, because you're still going to have to walk past this Edge-1, walk past the Gnar, walk past the Nautilus, which is really a big concern for me. The Braum feels kind of very disjointed from what the rest of the draft wants to do, you know, unless they're just seeing it as like, okay, our 3 members on the top side are going to dive in the back line and kill off Supa, and then, you know, Easy Love and Elio are going to be kiting back and trying to win out a skirmish on the other side and kind of in that way. But yeah, I just think the draft is honestly not very strong.
Yeah, I think the huge amount of this relies on Kiaya finding those good ultimates, and you harken back to play-ins where he was very good at finding these flank opportunities to set up for these big ultimates that would catch key carries and avoid some of the tanks. But if you start too far behind, this is a composition that just gets completely steamrolled, and it is difficult to operate. So GAM really need to come out the gate swinging.
And it's like, who are you diving on, right? For GAM, like GAM can only go for Supa. That's basically your only target, right? Like you have one target on the team, and it's a champion that can go invisible later in the game, can ult in away from your dive, you know, like it feels very, very difficult to pull off. So we'll see, you know, if GAM can make some magic happen here. I think MDK massively favored after the draft.
I agree, yeah. I think it's just a hope and pray for GAM that you can find those small windows of opportunities.
That's the draft strategy?
Yeah,
hope and pray.
All right, well, hey man.
Look, I'm trying to make it sound a bit better, right? This is
这把我是感觉有个问题，就是梦魇凯塔飞谁呢？飞卡莎，肯定飞卡莎，就他一个后排。那飞卡莎的话，队友能不能跟得上是个问题。而且我感觉这个泰坦拿出来不是用来开团的，就是为了靠被动保卡莎的。我觉得泰坦的话，卡莎这把不好死的。
It's harder to get ahead in lanes, with lane swaps being a thing, and you can see right here, with Supa up in the top side, that's exactly what MDK are planning, as GAM are going to do a delayed invade, but they do it right over top of a ward, so MDK are going to have knowledge about this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is really smart, honestly, from MDK. You just are setting yourself up for success. You know, you're playing against the Kalista Braum. Nautilus can never engage in the early game into that kind of a lane, so you are going to be really on the back foot. And traditionally, Aurora is considered a pretty heavy lane bully in the early levels in a lot of these matchups. So you're denying the strength of two of the lanes here that GAM have picked. You have much better scaling. You know, you have a much easier to execute composition. So MDK just kind of need to play it simple, play it slow.
Yeah, just going to start the slow push. They hovered on the wave for quite a while on top side. Didn't start it up immediately, waiting for Easylove and Elio to appear on this bottom side of the map. So at least information is there from both sides, but you knew with Nautilus on the mid wave that this was already going to be a lane swap scenario anyway. It just means that Mirwin hasn't stacked up any of his rage, which is traditionally where we see this TP come through now with a Mega Gnar available from Mirwin.
Alvaro trying to make his way down to the tier 1 turret. Level 2, he's got the dredge line to make his way there a little bit faster. He is 1v4. He flashes forward to try to lock up Elio for the last turret shot, but it ain't gonna work.
这剧本这情节我怎么感觉在第一把看过呢？米儿也死了，一个换不了。他们两把剧情好像啊。
And it meant that they've only now got that wave crashed. Mirren does come in level 2, but doesn't have the Mega Gnar, and he's so squishy, and now mid, Emo flashes away, and he's fine, but big whoopsie on the bottom side.
I mean, it's huge, and also, as you're saying, you know, not only you're not pushing to kind of get that faster XP, but also because you slow push, Kiaya after
你看慢，越南语流比我看英文流，英文流快。我这都已经回放这一波了，我说搞笑，不是我就不明白这个泰坦是谁给他的勇气，他敢去上线了。
He's able to survive, and then yes, Levi is low, but Kiaya is full, Easylove is full, so they can just juggle the aggro here. Kiaya is just going to pull threat with that auto, step out, and they're able to easy pile in here, grab a couple kills. Kiaya gets the farm on top side, so not only kill and assist, but he is up, you know, a good wave and a half already.
Absolute disaster for MDK in the bottom lane. In the lane swap that they initiated, now everything seems to be going back to where you would expect it to be. But GAM with a 1,500 gold lead here early with this composition that we pretty much said needs to be ahead early because it feels so much less cohesive than what MDK has drafted. It's exactly what GAM needed.
But especially because Kiaya now just kind of gets to bully out in that top side of the map. Already has the Amplifying Tome advantage, but he's going to have the range advantage too, level advantage. He continuously pushes in, gets turret plates. He becomes a massive threat on the side lane. As long as Mirwin is in this...
其实纳尔吃完这波兵的话，五幺应该是没差多少。 东梅必须过来保一下，不保的话容易出事儿。MDK 这点做的还行。
Mirwin doesn't get dove here. I mean, with this wave crashing into the turret, if Mirwin would have got dove, that's just kind of...
哎呦呀，至少不是个傻子。
So you got to make sure you're shadowing that. Got to make sure you're keeping the guy protected. Alvaro. Oh, he missed the dredge line onto the terrain. Alvaro does not have flash either. He already used it in the bottom lane. Dive.
What is going on? We started off this series so incredibly well for MDK, but it's gone from disaster to disaster this entire game long.
Yeah, I mean, that is rough. You know, he's just straight up missed the wall. Wasn't even close to the wall, to be honest. You know, he was trying to go for that max range hook where you just lollipop onto the wall and really pull away, but I don't even think he had to. Any sort of decent hook, and I think he's probably going to be able to, at the very least, force flashes to be able to chase in and get that kill.
It's also, you don't really lollipop when you're hooking, or lollipop, sorry, when you hook onto the walls. It's the center, if you have the animation up, it's basically the straight line in the middle of the hit marker that actually attaches to the wall. It's the outside ones that attach onto the champions, so it was always going to be a pretty difficult one to go for. So, and now again, bot lane further behind, more control here for Easy Love, a 700 gold in both top and mid, or sorry, in boss and top. Yeah, and now you just move over towards all these objectives that are just waiting to be picked up by.
I mean, it's over 2,000 gold down at 6 minutes.
纳尔又囤了一波线。
That is definitely crazy, and MDK definitely going to need to use every little bit of their compositional advantage. Now, this could be a good start, though, as Easy Love has an idea that something could be going on, but going to get the bad news.
Nice. Dredgeline finds him. MDK. They at least forced the flash out of the AD carry for GAM, but now Elio's made his way down as well. There is no flash on this support. He is going to die again. Elio gets it. They charm up Supa, but he's ready to try to get away. Frescowi's joined the fight, and he goes in for the Fade Seal. They get one back. MDK is on the board. Makes it an even trade.
And GAM still coming out, though. And top lane. Mirwin about to fall. Levi's going to finish him off. Mirwin
with the flash out, man. You're dead to rights.
You can look at Kiai.
减6.5应该有。
is very happy. Levi is very happy, and I think for GAM, this is exactly what we're talking about. You can never underestimate the VCS coming into these international tournaments. Top Esports paid the price, Fnatic paid the price, and now it might be MDK paying that one as well.
Yeah, they've dug themselves a pretty big hole, and they're going to have to dig out of it. I do think a smart lane assignment's here from GAM as Emo pushes out bot, while Easy Loves runs back towards mid to catch that wave. So not missing a beat on the map. They've got nearly 3 plates down in the bot side. They got 2 plates top. They redove Mirwin, got his flash, and it's 15 CS on the Gnar at 7.5 minutes into the game.
Levi, along with getting that kill up in the top lane, also got 3 grubs, and this gold lead is about the gold lead that we saw last game, post 30 minutes after the Baron was taken.
The support has 500 gold advantage. Like, everything is just going wrong for MDK right now.
But Alvaro has more CS.
Got him.
+3.
Yeah. 4. We got one. Yeah.
There it is. All right, MDK has got to try to stabilize. I normally say you want to staunch the bleeding, but they're walking around with one leg at this point. We need a tourniquet, boys.
Got to reattach the leg.
Yeah, that we got to do something because MDK's early game has gone about as poorly as it could possibly go, and GAM are capitalizing. Kiaya now getting jumped on by Mirwin, who does have the Mega Gnar. The weirding, though, going to force him back. Levi can't get in there just yet. Mirwin still getting away for now. Levi not having the range there on the Paranoia ends up being the saving grace for Mirwin, who can make it back.
经济差3000，上塔随时能掉。 下塔血量也不健康。MDK 这把有点难了。
These are little things you need to constantly do this game. Chip away at the advantage that GAM has. Stay calm. Don't allow the lead to extend. Just try to keep it at this point. Yes, 3K is a big lead, but if it's 3K at 20 minutes, that's totally playable. That's a situation where you can show up to a team fight and just out-execute. So they just need to make sure, you know what? We made some mistakes in the early game. Let's calm down, take a deep breath, play for the waves, play for vision. Don't allow GAM to get more advantages.
Closest lane comparison right now is in mid. Frescowi doing a good job, just pretty much staying neck and neck with this enemy mid laner, with his Yone. 5-1 overall the score for GAM. Kills spread out pretty evenly, quite honestly. The only one without a kill being Emo in the mid lane. Doubled up there for Easy Love. 4 out of 5 kill participation on him does feel pretty bad for the side of MDK, but Kalista not one of those hyper-scaling AD carries, so it means that GAM, like you're already talking about, Isaac, is going to need to keep the pressure on and utilize the early power of this champion.
And I think that's where they want to try and just move in towards this mid lane, get push for Emo so we can start to roam alongside Levi, because then you open up for potential dives down towards Super, or at least forcing him off the towers, looking at Dragon takes as well, and just playing off the fact that Ari has so much control over this lane against the Yone.
And they need to play for every single objective, right? You need to say, okay, MDK, you don't want to fight us now? Guess what? We take every neutral on the map. We play for 6 scrubs. We stack dragons. We threaten soul. And we try to put you in a position where you can't just AFK farm until you're in a good spot with your comp, and you can then try to fight.
And that's why I think the fact that the resets have already come through for MDK are pretty clutch. 15 seconds until the next Void Groves. First item completion for Elyoya. But maybe they can try and find something back here, but Already, Mirren on this bottom half of the map, they're starting to push out a little bit, but all 5 members of GAM are in position.
I mean, GAM have a big advantage, but they have 0 completed items, so the gold is not as big of a deal as it would be.
Exactly. That's the power of playing a tank jungler. You can buy these lower price point support items. You can get something like Convergence, and even though Levi's ahead, he hasn't been able to put it together.
Kiaya hasn't reset. He's been hiding off of Vision this entire time, looking for the Kai'Sa on the backside.
Alvaro gets charmed up, gonna take a little bit of damage here from Emo and Elio. 4th grub already secured by GAM. Elyoya and Alvaro still thinking about maybe making their entry into the top side river. 5th grub goes over to GAM. Smite still available for Levi. Smites that one down. All 6 grubs, no fight from MDK.
Yeah, at the very least, they didn't fully overcommit because Mirren was getting plates in bot side. He got the push in. You know, he's closed that CS gap quite a bit. You know, he was down 15 CS, you know, only a couple minutes ago. So he's actually getting some farm. You know, he's closing that gold lead a little bit. Yes, they couldn't get in to actually stop any of the grubs, but I do think MDK didn't overcommit because that would have been really tragic if they just sent all 5 members there and couldn't get anything.
And I think that's why it was good positioning from Kiaya, not resetting, keeping pressure on towards Supa, so Supa couldn't really enter the fight. And from that position for Scout, he still had to control the mid wave. And I think that's why now, having this 6 Void Grubs is going to work out brilliantly for GAM. They're going to have the pressure from Emo, who can continue to push, chip away at turrets using that burn and that buff. And same for Kiaya, who, look, even though Mirren still got a bit of gold, it's still a 1.3k gold lead.
Yeah.
It's still huge.
Scowie being smart here, was walking forward, seeing if there's an angle for a plate. You can use the soul inbound for that, of course, but Ilio up towards top side, gonna help Emo get a reset here, who should be sitting on a lot of gold, honestly. Yeah, he's sitting on 1,700 gold at this point in pocket on the RE, so once to help him get this reset, is gonna be able to do just that. And Kiaya, you can see that he's gonna be trailed by Levi down on this bottom side, so they are gonna look to continue attacking Mirwin, who has been chunked out a little bit, and Mega is nowhere in sight, so if he does overextend, it definitely could be an easy kill there.
Okay, so we're talking about MDK needing to stop the game from continuing to snowball against them, and for the past few minutes, it seems like they're doing an okay job at it. The gold lead that peaked at around 3K is still at 2.7 or so, but it's not like it's growing. The clock keeps marching forward. Yes, you're down 6 grubs, but the gold's not bleeding.
But that's why I think MDK are playing so heavily down towards this bottom side. It's if you get a pick on Kiaya, you get the crash that wave, you get your resets, mid until the Rift Herald, you're in a great position then on the map as they have to catch up, but MDK swing and a miss on the ultimate from Elyoya. They just want to try and keep these plays up while they have that timing window.
And I think what they were trying to do was similar to what they did in the first game. You know, even if you don't get a kill there, you're hoping you force cleanse, you're hoping you force flash, but Elyoya might have to flash himself. No, he's going to be okay. They didn't continue the trace. But, you know, I don't think we've seen a single Void Grub spawn until just now as Kiaya is going to be able to actually get towards that bottom side. They hadn't been able to get access to
上单差了快40个刀了，这哪现在已经没法对象了。
pretty much just gone. Levi's in the area. It's going to be very tough for Mirwin to defend this.
And that's why I think GAM, yes, they could move up towards the Rift Herald, but the fact that you've got
一塔一掉，经济马上就开始滚起来。
anxiety in their step as they don't want to fully get playing.
GM 也太坏了，还不让纳尔去塔下吃兵。
Oh, nice use of the glacial fissure there, but it ain't gonna be enough. MDK in the 2v2.
这波蹦我感觉是不用死的啊，为什么不给大招呢？
But all the meanwhile, bottom lane they get that tier 1 turret for Kiaya.
Yeah, Elio has been really haphazard with his Braum shields. Like, he's been jumping in and just denying Qs for last hits on minions and things like this. And in this situation, it was a great buffer. We're going to see Supa.
Oh, easy love. He's taking down Supa. Flexing those muscles, stepping up when he absolutely needs to, getting another kill for MDK.
假赛好吧，这个必须要严查一下了。就是他辅助他不给大招，然后自己刚才用问玩被单杀。 这个下去的话 ，VCS 肯定要细查一下的。
Elyoya scoots in just in time to try to keep the turret protected, but the burn will take it anyway. Now Paranoia's popped off, and it looks like Alvaro could be in some trouble. The fear tether procs. They're trying to save him with the glacial prison, but it won't matter. Kiaya gets the kill on Alvaro, and now with a 5v4 and Rift Herald alive, it's control over the top side of the map for GAM.
There's the pick, though.
Kiaya going between worlds. Supla gets caught for a second. The weirding still hits him. A little bit more damage is all it takes, and Kiaya gets the kill. Nearly dies, but close ain't good enough. Easy Love getting away from Mirwin in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, the 2v2, 3v2 back in the mid lane. Frescowi trying to reset his position. The Fate Shield ain't gonna work. He goes unstoppable, but does he have the damage? No, he does.
永恩挺尽力的。
It's more tragedy for MDK.
GAM coming up massive in these fights here. First to pick on Alvaro, but then MDK decide they want to try to get something back. They're looking for these scraps when they're not in the position to do so, and they lose so much more, erasing all the good work from their bot lane there in that mid lane 2v2. Where, you know, Easy Love could have just altered his Braum to safety, didn't do it, they get a kill there, then he oversteps, Super gets a great solo kill on him, but they have got to be cognizant of their spot in this game. This got really close because the twofold Hex, that Q, first one missed, so Supa almost able to do it, but then the TP in to try to get something more from Frescowi is just way too far.
And you've got so many members of GAM that are just able to collapse. Supa can't really be a part of this, so for him, the Aurora can't really be a part of this, but there's still enough members there on GAM. They just finish them off, and you can see the frustration in the back. Yeah. And the whole start of this was bizarre from MDK as well, because the call was already there. Hey, we're going to take bot lane turret and give Rift Herald. But Alvaro takes a step too far forward. He gets caught. Then Supa overextends on the mid wave as well. It's just these small errors that are being punished by GAM extraordinarily well.
Okay, so for MDK, they have finally claimed their first neutral objective of the game. They did get the Rift Herald. It is traded away for the second Drake going into the possession of GAM. They're up 2-0 on those, 6-0 on the Void Grubs, 8-3 in.
现在问题这就是 GM 的上单有点没法解决，他发育太好。他一套爆发没人吃得住啊，这怎么玩？
Honestly, I think it's more than enough for now. You know, you're a 4,000 gold lead here. You have 6 grubs. You have 2 dragons. You're about to extend that gold lead even more. So I feel like compositional advantages don't really matter at all with this sort of a lead. So MDK are going to have to find some way to slow the pace of this game. Thankfully for them, it's Chemtech Soul, which is largely really useless for a lot of the champs on the GAM side. So that is a little bit of a feather in the cap there. You know, Aurora, Ahri, they're going to get like 0 from that almost. But that being said, a soul is still a soul and is combat power. But MDK got to be really happy that's not like, you know, a Hex Tech or something like that.
And the fact that GAM do have a very squishy lineup can still play a factor if MDK can find a pick or GAM overextend, because I think that's the way that they really get back into this game. Like the wave and the push is still in favor of GAM because they have multiple of these range carries, but if you overextend, like here, for example, if Yoya could find a big ultimate on towards Easy Love, suddenly that slows that pace down and buys that time you need.
All right, Rift Herald summoned up in the mid lane. MDK trying to make a play for the tier 1 turret. Mirwin with a flash out, does not want to be caught there with the last hit. The winner's bite as Emo and Levi jump in, but Levi might just get punished. A beautiful Glacial Fissure trying to keep the jungler alive. Levi barely surviving, a little bit more damage from the Glacial Prison. Just might kill him off, but Kiaya is already on a rampage. Frescowi is down. Levi and Elio going to be traded, though, as now it's dead bodies on both sides.
18分钟16个头。
For MDK, it's about to be 4. Mirwin wants to fight back.
能不能换一个？换不了。17个头。
It's a triple for the Aurora, for Kiaya, for GAM.
The GAM shots are flying and they are finding their mark. MDK thought they could push in onto that mid lane turret, but GAM immediately saw their chance. The TP from Emo, the flight in from Levi, even Kiaya getting access to Frescowi in that back line. It was a wonderful setup for GAM.
Yeah, and it's all about this initial engage. Frescowi, I think, was trying to find some sort of an angle for a flank, but he's way too far up, so he has to use a Fated Seal just to run. Then the Soul Unbound is used in a spot where you're kind of guaranteed to never get away. So you're using all your tools there as the Yone to be able to get really nothing. So it became so difficult for MDK. There's obviously the focus on Supa. The rest of the members burst him down. Kiaya finishes off Frescowi. Mirwin, who had to flash earlier when the Herald crashed, has no way out. And this is just massive for GAM, feeling so good about their spot in the game now. And you can see a little bit of relief now on the coaches' faces as they're starting to look a little bit stressed, less stressed.
Yeah, but then the camera shot immediately after, you can see the stress, you can see the pressure setting in for MDK. Things are getting further and further out of their control now with over a 5,500 gold lead for GAM.
I mean, just look at the items. You're comparing the top lane items here on both sides. You're comparing the mid lane items on both sides. the gap is massive. Supa is still strong, but it's the soul laners that are going to be such an issue here between these two squads.
这又死了。这男爵应该掉了吧？这直接开男爵啊！哎，还大抢2个，那肯定没啥掉，但也是要去看男爵的吧？你毕竟有卡迪斯塔，这么稳的吗 ？GM， 哎妈呀！你第一把稍微打的这么稳一点点，真的，我那个第一把那个大头都不会死的。你这把我坑了以后，然后现在学会求稳了是吗？你就憋着我一个人坑呗。
Frescawi was pushing through bot side, doesn't have the confidence to stay around and try to actually finish off that tower. And now they're looking for Supa, who has no cleanse.
All right, that was a little out of control there for GAM. They're way committing to try to find the kill on Supa. Instead, Elio now going to be punished. He'll be killed off. Elyoya's down to 100 HP, but he ain't dead yet. Easy Love trying to get back away from Frescawi. He goes in for the Fade Sealed. He goes too far. The turret shot.
哎，这剧情有反转哎。
Easy Love's looking to grab one back. Mirren at 100 HP. Kiaya has made his way into the fight now as Alvaro tries to lock down Easy Love.
没啥反转，但是男爵打不了，好吧？大头31.5，就这么莫名其妙中收了。我一开始看到5比1的时候，我感觉大头好像是要没。还是给他收。
It's a good little punish on the initial play, though, as Elio was kind of going too far. They're overextending, trying to take off Supa, and MDK have to look for these small moments. Supa has been so big for the team. They nail this ultimate here onto Levi. They put a lot of pressure on him. They get the kill on the Braum, but it's just the goal difference in action here. As MDK push forward, they're trying to put this pressure here onto Easy Love. Kiaya is zoned out. Levi's not really a part of the play. It's only the flash that keeps Easy Love alive, and all of this focus here onto Emo buys Easy Love the time to try to turn it around and to set up for the re-engage here from Kiaya.
If that boomerang had landed, maybe that's something, but GAM still coming out on top, and now with the setup available, it's Dragon Soul available to them for 4.5 minutes. The push on sides, the Baron still sitting there, and MDK just keep getting picked apart.
A tale of 280 carries in the team fight damage right there. 4,000 from Supa, 6,000 from Easy Love. And I feel like when you look at the scoreboard itself, MDK's only chance is this marksman. It is this player that you're talking about, was what they were focusing on back during their wins in play-ins. If Supa can't do it, nobody can. Alvaro now might be caught out as GAM again hard forced their way into the jungle of MDK for yet another kill on Alvaro.
Well, this is so problematic because they spent nothing to get that kill, so now they're going to be able to start the Baron. They still have all their tools to turn here. Aurora ult is available, so is Nocturne ult, so is Ariel.
Mirwin has the Narbar. He's ready to go in. Everybody is stuck in the pit. GAM going across worlds to try to find their way into the fight now, but Elio's already almost dead. Levi jumping into the back, looking to kill Supa, but he ain't going to find enough damage here just yet. Mirwin's still taking a ton as Easy Love goes on a rampage. Now Elyoya is going to try to get away, but Levi's ready to flash over the wall to slow him down. The fear is here. Goodbye, Sejuani. Another kill for Easy Love. GAM don't lose a single man. Alvaro's back alive, but all 5 GAM players are still here. They are still in the topside river, and they are still looking at Baron.
And that's the thing. GAM get pushed off, but they just go right back to it after the kills. Alvaro, hook goes wide. Supa trying to come in. Frescawi, no ultimate.
Emo, running interference. Baron down to about 4,000. They've also got a Callista. It should be an easy secure. It's going to be secured by Levi. But what about the fight? Frescawi's got the chance to go huge here, but he ain't going to find it. Another death for Alvaro. Everybody on GAM still alive, and Baron in their possession.
And GAM have all the tools they need now to close out this series to keep their world's dream alive here. Nearly 10,000 gold ahead. Here was the initial turn. Good job by Supa surviving against Levi and Emo, but it just doesn't matter because there's not enough damage in the tank on the other side. Frescawi, it's really all up to him in this spot, but he just couldn't find the angle, couldn't find the opportunity to get in there and really turn something around on GAM.
Yeah, and I think shout out to Supa. He is doing his damnedest this game to try and claw this back. He is having the best game he possibly can, but GAM just will not let up. Again, this Nocturne threat, catching out Alvaro, consistently playing off this Aurora. And it's a very similar comp that we saw from Gen G, and I wasn't sure GAM would be able to find the success with this, but they've been playing so well around this early lead that they managed to gain.
I mean, just how damn good is Kiaya? This guy has really been impressing me. You know, I do think sometimes when you come to these leagues that have the smaller regions, right, you know, people are just overlooking these players and saying, oh, he's good, but he's probably good for that league. Kiaya is just straight good. This guy is incredible. He's playing at an enormously high level, and you can see that win probability powered by AWS. That is just a hair's breadth away from 100%.
Yeah. I saw you squinting, Gagner, trying to see how much.
He's like, so you're telling me there's a chance?
Who's got the microscope? Let me double check.
Well, we'll see if MDK can find that slim opportunity.
Gentlemen, we've got a 7-0-8 Aurora. We've got a 7-2-7 Callista on the side.
第3把开心，大头减号全有。
2000 gold on that already, and the soul will spawn right before the Baron dissipates. So GAM should have total control over Summoner's Rift for the entirety of the.
但那儿回那边，你们主动开一波吧。我现在还差5个头，你们打一波0换5正好。
Yeah, Mirwin not there. He's just trying to get something back at the tier 2. Frescowi going in for an ulti. The turret's probably going to die before the TP even completes. They're going between worlds. Levi diving into the back. If they find Super, the game's going to be over right there. And immediately,
这啥意思？运
jumps in. Easy Love is dominating. 3 dead on MDK. The final
那都不还了呗，这意思就是，这不要了呗。
Mirwin and Elyoya will try as valiantly as they might to defend, but the turrets are already gone.
好险，好险，好险，
Vietnam still
好险，还双。
left in them, and they will eliminate MDK from Worlds 2024.
And what a story here for the GAM team, qualifying for the Swiss stage, taking down MDK in a best-of-3. This is massive in Levi's final Worlds.
The major region, the Assassins, always come to play. It's another head on a pike for them, and they are looking at several more as this tournament goes on.
An impressive showing from GAM to bounce back after that first game. The desk is standing by. Tell us what y'all think of that series.
It's crushing for the side. It's crushing for the side of Mad Lions Koi and Elyoya after having to fight up against no one believing them for the entire year. They showed them wrong, but eventually it wasn't enough to beat the might that was Kiaya and Levi and GAM in this series. After what was a promising start and the mental went kind of back and forth, but a couple of key picks, a couple of key moves, and we've said it so many times.
我感觉是假赛。
Upside of GAM is no joke.
Kiaya was magnificent. They got the Aurora. They even gave away Yone, and in the face of the stats, they took him down. Honestly, as well, we were recommending lane swapping to Mad Lions as a means of actually putting Kiaya behind, but they were so late on their teleport from Merwin on the bottom side that actually just fed 2 kills, and GAM blasted them in their own lane swap to get further ahead.
I'm stunned, but maybe I shouldn't be.
No, I mean,
because GAM was the best team in play-ins. They made it through 4-0. Last year, they did this to the number 3 seed NA team and Team Liquid, and then this year they just did it to Mad Lions. So I know people are going to say like, classic Mad Lions, blah, blah, blah. But it's also like classic GAM.
Yeah.
They do this more often than they don't.
I think the classic Mad Lions card is unfair. Just like we said we weren't going to bring up 100 Thieves, but just like I thought it was unfair
we weren't
to
bring
say
up
that to about like 4 rookies and 1 more veteran player, right? I think that is unfair. I think they can be proud of how far they got. But in the context of this series, I think they should be very frustrated because they know that they could play better than what they've shown in Game 2 and 3. But at the end of the day, it was GAM, and Kiaya is our Oppo player of the series because held his own also in Game 2 and was destructive in Game 3.
Because Kiaya is really good. His Aurora is undefeated. He won with it twice in play-ins. He was an absolute force this game. In Game 2, his cannon was pretty unstoppable. Even in their loss earlier in Swiss to Fnatic, his Jax was an absolute menace to deal with and almost carried them to victory. So Kiaya has been, as much as we want to talk about Levi as the leader for this team, Kiaya has been the closer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, this series, it took a lot from all of the members of GAM. I was really happy to see them step up, especially Easy Love on the Callista in the mid fight. Really, really impressive.
Really impressive indeed, and we talked about how for GAM and their region it is so incredibly important for them to get this win and to continue showing up, and we're heading over to the Verizon post-game interview with Levi.
GAM advances to the next stage and save their world's run, and I have Levi and Koa with me to talk about this amazing series. First things first, congratulations, that was unexpected given the first game. Talk me through the evolution of the series for the first game that Mad Lions won into your recovery. What changed for you guys to keep the victory?
Ở game đầu thì Mad Lions sẽ có một cái chiến thắng áp đảo á. Làm sao để mà em và đồng đội của mình có thể lật ngược thế cờ như vậy?
Mình nghĩ là tụi mình đã cười nhiều hơn ở game đầu thứ hai.
We had a lot more laughter compared to the first one.
All right. Well, a lot of confidence, a lot of laughter, and I think that when I think about VCS, when I think about GAM esports, the first thing that comes to my mind is the crazy picks that you guys bring, the craziness even in game, but it feels like this version of GAM esports is way more refined and focused on the macro side of the game. Can you talk me through the evolution of the team from when we saw you guys at MSI and making it at Worlds? What has been the main focuses for you to get better?